JB and AC. The energy was awesome. Those two are just like really finding their groove.
4 straight overall wins.
$100,000. Adam Cianciarulla. Checkered flag and Justin Brayton.
Cianciarulla has won the 2019 Pro Motocross Championship.
He's gonna do it to become the oldest winner in the history of Supercross.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the AC and JB Show. We've got a good one for you here. This is going to be a ton of fun. We're going to preview the upcoming 450 Supercross season. And AC and I were talking. We're like, who should we get on? Who's a guy that can preview the season with us? Well, we've got a treat for you, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the king of Supercross coming on today. 72 wins, 7 Supercross championships. Jeremy McGrath's going to join us. That's going to be a ton of fun. So, AC, we're going to have some fun today, man. But first off, AC, we're fresh off a Christmas break, and I seen you pretty dialed in, man. You were looking good on the gram.
Oh, yeah. My mom got married, man. Mom got married a few days before Christmas, and I love the man. I love the man. So it's always something special about seeing your mom happy. You know, Ashley and I, she got married on the 22nd, and I normally go to Florida for a few days for Christmas, and so we made the trip a little longer, get a nice Airbnb. I always try to stay, New Smyrna Beach is where kind of my whole mom side of my family lives, and so anytime I go back there, I always try to stay on the beach, of course. Just get the salt air. It's good for the sinuses. I sleep so well next to the water. And yeah, so we spent a week in Florida. It was great. I got to see my little nieces and my goddaughter, my sister, everybody. It's kind of funny being an adult now and living in California. The older I get, the more I cherish the time, you know, with my family, and just like seeing my nieces get older. My grandparents are getting older. So think about, I don't know, maybe I should get a condo or something in Florida. But in general, Christmas was great, man. How was yours? Is the wallet looking a little skinny?
Yeah. Yeah, 3 kids, man. They'll put a dent in your wallet, that's for sure. But
I bet.
yeah, I mean, it definitely changes the older you get. But wait till you have kids. It becomes like magical all over again. And I've got, my oldest daughter's 11, so she doesn't believe in Santa anymore. My son is 8. He does still believe. And my youngest daughter's 4, so she's like, you know, like it's so fun with her. So we had a lot of fun, and it was really, really nice here in North Carolina. So it was like 70-degree day. We had a blast. It was awesome. And I always feel like, look, growing up in Iowa, Christmas, like a white Christmas, was amazing. For you in Florida, you've never seen such a thing, right?
No.
But for us, it's like you ride four-wheelers in the snow, you go sledding, you do all kinds of stuff like that. And then I moved to North Carolina, and I'm so happy to get out of the snow. But then there's like a happy medium of like, North Carolina a lot of times in the winter and around Christmas can be like 45 and kind of like rainy and not great. So I'd rather have either full white Christmas or a 75 and sunny degree day, and we got that this year. So we had a nice day. I did a bunch of ride, man. I rode 2 days in a row. I'm grinding over here, AC. I'm coming for you in 2026.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm doing the track preview at A1.
Let's go.
I'm about, as I told you, I don't know if we talked about it on the show. Maybe we did. Where I went and rode at Twitch's place a couple weeks ago.
We haven't talked about it, no. But I did.
We haven't talked about it. Well, it was great. I was scared going out there because those jumps, I haven't hit a ramp in forever, and those jumps are pretty big. So rolling out there, and for those that don't know Twitch, I mean, he is one of my favorite people in the entire world. Like just the most chill dude of all time. Like just being around him, he always brings the energy up. So I golf with him sometimes. We ride a little bit here and there, but he invited me out, and last time I had ridden was in Melbourne, and I really wanted to ride. And I'm like, this is probably not the smartest thing to do, but I'm gonna go do it. I told myself I'm gonna go out there, and if I don't feel comfortable, I'm not gonna hit anything. I'm just gonna ride around, and that'll be that. But I missed. You know what I missed, and what doesn't get talked about enough in terms of how much fun riding is when you're scared when you're scared to do a jump and you're like, I'm not sure if I have this or not. And then you do the jump, that feeling, there's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. And so thankfully, before I got asked to do the track preview, I had gone out there and ridden, and I felt pretty comfortable on the motorcycle. But now I was coordinating with my old crew chief, Oscar, the other day. I'm going to get a couple days in at the test track leading into A1 because,
I like that.
yeah, I'm not trying to go out there on Friday and frame case something or do anything crazy. So I'm going to get a couple days of riding in these next couple weeks, and I'm going to try to put on a show for you, JB, Friday, A1. Nine's going to be out there, fresh A-Stars kit. I'm excited. I'm excited. One more point about Christmas is, and you were talking about, having 3 kids and what that entails. I was talking to Ashley the other day, and of course we want kids, right? And we feel like we're at this kind of in-between stage in life where we're starting to settle down, but not quite kids yet. And we flew home. We didn't have much going on the day we got back, and we were a little bored. And I'm like, right now in this moment, I said, there's no way in 10 years we look back at this time and say anything but, dang, we really had it made. Like in terms of like our responsibilities, we have responsibilities like, regular adults do, but it's just us right now. So I'm enjoying a couple more peaceful Christmases before we move into that stage.
I like that because
end point.
Yeah, so here's what can happen, and a lot of our listeners probably know exactly where I'm going with this. But in that phase you're in, you can like rush it. Like I know Paige and I did. Like we dated for a few years, but then got married, and then we got pregnant right away. I mean, probably the night of our wedding, right? Honeymoon baby, for sure.
Love it.
But you can really speed things up. You're like, I want this next chapter of our life, and then I want to get married. I want to have kids, and you can start speeding everything up, and then you can be sitting right here with an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and you're like, oh my gosh, like it goes by so fast. Which I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but I'm glad you're enjoying it because honestly, the time you're in right now, it doesn't get much better, dude. It doesn't get much better.
I know.
So I'm glad you're enjoying it.
And I don't know. I had originally thought, I think, growing up that, and we'll get into our 450 preview show here, folks, but I had originally thought I'd be settled down, married, kid on the way by 25, 26. I think that, like, my parents' generation, that was kind of more normal. That's what happened. Of course, it still happens today, but I think most of the time people are maybe a little bit older. My point is, I don't know how you guys did it. I really don't. Like, I don't know how you devoted time to the family, the kids, all the little stresses that come with that, and also ride and race and do the daily grind. And I know you say it helped you, which to me is insane. But for now, yeah, we're enjoying this little peaceful period in time.
And honestly, knowing you now, it would have helped you as well.
You think?
Yeah, because here's the thing is like we're so consumed in it. We're it's 24/7, and like you're laying in bed at night thinking, I wonder if I should do 2 clicks softer on my fork tomorrow. I'm going to the Kawasaki test track. They just rebuilt it. Man, I seen those whoops. Someone sent me a picture. Like I'm nervous of those. I don't know if like there's always something, right? And with kids, you don't have a choice. Like you have to turn it off. And that's why I say I do believe it helped me because when I was at the track, it was 100%. When I was off, as soon as I walked through the door, like you didn't have time to think about racing. And I just think it helped me lock in better when it was time to lock in.
You know what helps me? Having two cats, Justin.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. Dude, we got to get to this preview show, man.
It helps me.
We're losing listeners.
All right. Let's get into our 450 preview show with the king of Supercross joining us right now, Jeremy McGrath.
MC, thank you so much for joining us today. Happy holidays. And what's this time of year like for the McGrath family? Where you at?
Oh, man, it's great to be here, you guys. Merry Christmas to you guys. And, of course, a Happy New Year coming up. Looking forward to a nice 26. But we have a little spot up in Park City, Utah, and we come up for Christmas, New Year's. Typically, we come up for Christmas, but this year the way the dates fell and there's no snow here. So honestly, like I just got back from the gym and I seriously could go mountain biking right now if we wanted. There's no snow up here. So
Nuts.
yeah, it's kind of bare, but it's a good spot. We got a little family week hang out and yeah, it should be a good time.
The mountain biking in Park City there are some gnarly runs you can hit. The last time I was there, I hit the deck so hard I didn't even know what day it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can get as rowdy as you want up here. I think there's single tracks everywhere, and as you guys know, when COVID happened and a lot of you guys stayed up here during that time, and that's when everyone kind of discovered how great this place is, and the mountain biking is second to none. So a lot of great trails, and it's so beautiful, and we love it up here. So we've been coming up here a long time, and we've had a spot for a while, and we just can't get enough. So this time of year for us is obviously same as everyone else, just kind of a reset time, just chilling. My daughter Rowan's home from college. She's second year in college now, which is even crazy to just blows my mind to say that stuff. And we have a senior in high school, and she's getting ready to go to college. So my wife Kim and I are getting closer to being empty nesters, and yeah, man, maybe that leaves more time for my dirt bike, more time for my mountain bike, more time for some fun stuff. So good times ahead.
It's crazy, crazy how sorry there, JB. It's crazy, Jeremy, thinking about how fast time goes by. I remember, I met you at Daytona Supercross when I was like 3 years old, but when I finally met you as a rider coming out to your ranch, it's like 15 years ago now. Like, how did that happen?
It really is incredible how fast time flies, right? Adam, you don't have any kids yet, but Justin, I mean, when you have kids, it's like turning the hourglass over. You finally realize how old you're getting because all of a sudden your son or daughter is 5 years old. Then they're 8. Then they're like 10. Then they're like, holy smokes, now they're a teenager. And then all of a sudden they're driving, and now you're in college. You're like, man, I don't really have kids anymore. I have adults, and you don't recognize how fast that time goes by. So yeah, we're cherishing the moments, having a blast, loving on our kids, and still trying to find time to ride my dirt bike and have some fun in that way too.
Yeah, it's funny, MC, because that's what we talked about when we opened the show just a little bit ago on for one, Adam was talking about right now, obviously he's got a serious girlfriend and really enjoying that time. And then I've got 3 kids. I got an 11-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And it's crazy how Christmas and the holidays, they change. And then for you basically have adults now in your house, and you're right, it just goes so fast. But it's crazy how the seasons of life, like, they just change so much. And it seems like now we're going, instead of going like a year at a time, I feel like 5 years goes by just so quick. And I was telling Adam, like, those are some of the best times, but you want to like speed it up. You're like, all right, we're ready to get married, then we're ready to have kids. It's like, no, slow down, enjoy the time. It'll come fast enough.
It's crazy. When you're young, you want it to speed up. When you get a little bit older, you want it to slow way back down, because you're right. 1 year, or 5 years feels like 1 year.
That's
it
right.
Just feels like so compressed. And then you have kids, you're right in the thick of it. You're just all seasons blend together, and all holidays, and all racing, and all scheduled travel, all the stuff. And it is pretty wild how life works. And I just remember, being young, and someone, it's funny to say now, you look back, and like my dad was 40. I'm like, man, my dad was so old, at 40. And I'm like, I'm like, 16 or whatever. And now I'm sitting here at 54 going, wow. I mean, I'm hoping, like the 50-year-olds today are a lot younger than they were sort of when we were kids, I think. But anyways, it is wild how it all kind of blends together, and life itself just starts speeding up. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's one thing. So we'll get into this, the preview of the 2026 Supercross season. But the first thing that I want to talk about is obviously the biggest news of the industry right now is Jett being injured. And one of the first things that I thought about, Jeremy, was just, I don't know if we put as much emphasis as we should to celebrate. Obviously, we celebrate your 7 championships and your 72 wins, but it's not talked about often that you stayed relatively healthy. And I don't think we talk about that enough, that to get to 72, to get to 7, it's a lot, and you got to stay healthy. So obviously with Jett's injury, that's 2 years now that he's going to miss out on the Supercross championship. And I think it needs to be celebrated, man, how throughout your pretty much your entire career you stayed healthy. It's just wild to be at that level and really be pretty injury free.
Yeah, it's it's funny when I think about it now. It's kind of like an out of body experience. Now that I'm so much older, I'm like, man, how did that even happen? Like, how did I stay healthy? How did I get to even race Supercross, which was all of our dreams? And then how did I get to that number? 72 is a wild, really high number. And I was thinking back, on all my races, I made every start, which is crazy. I never didn't start a race. I DNF'd some races, but
That is nuts.
yeah, I didn't miss a start out of all those years. And it's funny when Ricky Carmichael was coming up and the changing of the guard was happening and Ricky was just killing it and winning a lot of races and I had finally retired. He came along and it was like, oh man, he's gonna get this number in a hurry because he's winning everything. Well, then he hurt his knee, right? He missed the whole season, got the ACL that year. And this is a similar situation with Jett. I mean, he's on a roll. It's incredible when you think, Justin Cooper was the only guy this year to make all the starts. These guys, you guys know when I raced, there was quite a bit less racing, right? There's 15. We went to finally 16 Supercrosses. There was 12 outdoors, but we actually had some weekends off and some stuff like that. Now it seems like it's more like a NASCAR schedule where it's just every week there's like 4 weekends off for the whole year. It feels like anyway. And then you add all the other races. You have, what do they have? 18 Supercrosses now, and then they have 10 MX races, and then 4 SMX races. I mean, it seems like quite a much busier schedule than when I was racing. So maybe that factors in to the sort of recharging the batteries to try to stay healthy, keep your brain focused, keep everything good, so you can be there week in, week out. But still, I mean, the job is difficult. It's very difficult. And to think back on that is like, wow, how did I do that? I can't tell you.
Well, I think, when somebody with Jett's amount of talent, the talent from Jett Lawrence has always been apparent since he turned pro at, 16 years old. He does things on a motorcycle that make you scratch your head. And I think because he started winning so young, gets on a 450, has a perfect season outdoors, I think it's very easy to be like, oh, well, maybe he can reach that number. Maybe he can get 72 wins. Maybe he can win all these championships. But I think when this news broke, and with his injury last year, I think these things make you realize that it's not a foregone conclusion, right? Like MC, when you came into the pro ranks, when you got on the 250, you were kind of, a step above everyone else. And Jett's been that way. But
Right.
There's also, to me, and this is what I wanted to ask you, Jeremy, there's also there's the physical side, which you touched on a little bit, but the mental side, I imagine, has to be just as hard. When you don't have anybody to chase, when you're already better than the guy behind you, to stay motivated and to stay really focused and not let your mind wander when you're on the motorcycle all those years, year in, year out. I imagine that's got to be pretty difficult as well.
Yeah, I think, look, you're right. I mean, Jett has a extremely high talent level. I mean, and sometimes the stuff he does is just pretty incredible. You're like, wow, but we've seen that through the sport evolution of the sport. You've always seen the guys that do that. There was before me, there was Ricky Johnson or whatever. Then there was me, and then there was the next guy was Ricky, and then you had James and Chad, and the guys that are always taking it up to the next level. And Jett's kind of in that situation now. I think if things become easy sometimes, and we've seen it become easy for him sometimes, that's when your mind sort of can float off a little bit, and that's when you're maybe and we know now 450 is a difficult bike to ride. It's a difficult bike to tame all the time. If you're not paying attention all the time, it can get you. So, I think that the challenge for him is that he's going to have to sort of play games with himself to try to keep himself motivated, keep himself, I've said this before. I always try to keep myself the underdog. And I know it's weird to say that I was ever an underdog, but I was just making myself think I was an underdog. We all know the story of you're only as good as your last week's race, right? So I just kind of tried to somehow make myself think that there was another guy that was going to beat me, even though maybe there was no chance it was happening. And those are the games that I was playing with myself the whole time, because there is, like you said, there is an ebb and flow in confidence, right? I've certainly been, I lost the 96 motocross title absolutely because I was too confident. Things were too easy. I won 14 supercrosses that year out of 15. Then I won the first 6 motocross races, and well, guess what? On the 7th race, I tried to jump a jump at Millville that was I should have never tried. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could do that. Just totally cased it, wrecked my ankle. Really, I mean, we know the story from there. I lost the title to Emig by a couple points. But that was exactly the point where I was letting myself believe and think that I was too good. And karma has a way of fixing things, and it did. And not to say that he's, you have to be confident, but you just, I was guilty of being arrogant too. And that's what catches you. So you just got to really play these mind games with yourself on what can motivate you to stay in the ditch with the rest of the guys. You know what I mean? Just keep you grinding. And it's hard to do for 10 straight years.
Yeah.
And I think those are the tricks. I mean, we know he has the talent. We know he has the desire. He's winning. There's nothing like winning. You guys know that. And, I think you're right. I think that the trick to the whole longevity part is going to be the mental game.
Yeah, bummer for Jett. I mean, it's a bummer for the team and the series, but when you think about it from our seat, AC, especially you and I on Race Day Live each and every week, and Jeremy, I know you're still a huge fan of it and follow it each and every weekend. I don't want this to sound bad, but honestly, it makes the series interesting. It really does, because we all agree Jett was the favorite, clear favorite. And I can't help but think about at Glendale last year, you could just feel like in the air when he goes down with that ACL. That week and the next weekend, you could just there was like a sense of belief in Chase and, even in Kenny, in Cooper Webb. Like Coop, you could just tell like he was foaming at the mouth at that point. And I think if we're truly honest, and we'll get to Cooper Webb here in a minute, the 3-time Supercross champ and reigning defending champ. But don't you guys feel like, I don't know if we'll ever get them to say that, but the championship guys, now we're talking Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb,
Chase
Eli,
Sexton.
well,
Yep.
I said Eli, Chase, obviously Chase is going to be incredible. Don't you think they have more belief? Jeremy, they'll never say that, but I mean, if you went out of a series, for sure, Emig and these guys are going to be like, oh, now this is my chance.
Absolutely.
Don't you feel that?
Absolutely. I think when that injury notice came up, I think about 8 guys' heads, eyes lit up. Okay. Now it's on. I mean, guys like Roczen, even Jason Anderson, he had a really good, finish to his series. He was racing in Europe, whatever he's doing. And yeah, he's on a new bike and stuff, but he's a Supercross champ too. So he's got some confidence. But you're right. Guys like Cooper Webb, even Justin Cooper feels like maybe now, he's about ready to break the ice and get him some wins. Tomac's got to feel pretty good about it. I mean, even Hunter, I mean, is those guys make a pretty mean team, you know what I mean? And Hunter's been really improving over the last couple of years. And I don't think he's ready to take second fiddle to Jett too much longer, I feel like. And with that kind of news, he was probably like, hey, bro, yeah, this sucks, but all right, it's my time now. So I think you're absolutely right. The confidence when that happened, and it sucks. It really sucks that Jett got hurt. But this really could be great for us. And I'm sure that people used to say this about myself about Carmichael, whoever dominating, they say like if that guy could just miss a little bit, the rest of the guys would really shine. So and here we are, and I think it's going to be a great season.
I think something that stood out to me, MC, we had our A1 media days where we sit in a room, with the rider kind of one by one. We get them for like a half hour and just talk about how their off season has gone and everything else. And we had Cooper Webb. We had Cooper Webb in there, and I believe Lee Diffie asked him this question. He asked, what is there left for him to do in his career? Like, does he have any goals something he hasn't accomplished yet that he wants to accomplish? And he gave us a very straightforward, no BS answer. And I'm sure you remember this, Justin, but he said, I want to beat Jett Lawrence head to head in a championship. And I think that speaks to, and Coop being one of the smarter riders, he knows who to worry about. And I think that speaks to, I think a lot of other guys feel the same way. Like they know that the race is right now when Jett's healthy, the championships, the race wins, everything runs through Jett. Is can you beat Jett? And I think that's the state of the sport right now in the 450 class. Is Jett's the benchmark, and everybody's gunning for that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Cooper Webb's, for a 3-time champ, he's really kind of flown under the radar. He's probably, a lot of people don't pick him at the beginning of the year, and he gets some steam going. He's like a diesel truck, diesel engine. He just gets his momentum going. He's a really smart rider. He has really good fitness when it comes to late in the race, which, if you look back on some of the series where we watched from, say, the 15-minute mark on, Cooper Webb has probably been one of the guys that scored most points between that 15-minute mark and the end of the race.
Definitely.
So he can count on those things. But you look at a race strategy from Cooper Webb and you look at a race strategy from Jett Lawrence, and they're entirely different strategies. Jett wants to get out in front. He wants to get a lead. He wants to win. And, of course, he can do it the other way if he needed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know Cooper Webb can be at the front at the end. He doesn't seem to run up front always in the very beginning a lot. Sometimes he does. But their strategies are different. So, yeah, but I think every rider out there this year, you're right. I think the pace runs through Jett, even Hunter, that he's the benchmark for sure. But now who's the benchmark? Do you think now they're going to lose? They're going to just be, their mind's going to be on all the riders? Because, I don't know who's going to be setting the pace now.
Well, I will say this. Those of you who watch the Super Motocross Preview Show know that I sat down with Cooper Webb, went to his house about a month and a half ago. And I can tell you that from talking to Coop, he doesn't really worry about anyone else except for Jett Lawrence. He's already got the playbook on how to beat Chase. He knows the playbook on how to beat Eli Tomac. The only one he talked about is he knows that it would go through Jett. And at that point, obviously, Jett was healthy. So and that's just me talking to Coop. That was even off camera. So you have to believe that Cooper Webb is in the driver's seat right now. I'm not going to go down that trap, AC and MC, this year, counting Cooper Webb out. I've done it like for the past 6 years in a row, and then he proves us all wrong. So I think it has to go through him, don't you think, MC? I mean, he's proven time and time again, and he also was very adamant on no one has went back to back and won Supercross titles in a long, long time. Right. I don't know. It might have been. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure who. Probably should have done my research, but it's been a long time. And Coop wants to do that. He's never done that, and he really, really wants to do that. So I think it goes through the one, Cooper Webb.
Yeah, he talked a lot about that in the show. He did talk about that. I think, and he's proven that he has a race strategy top of the list. Like his race strategy is good, and he knows what it takes to get to 18 Supercrosses and get the max amount of points. I mean, he's also really good at taking a third, where some guys have a hard time. Like if I don't have it tonight, like they have a hard time getting third, or they have a hard time getting second or fourth, or even whatever it is. I think he knows, like, all right, this is what I got tonight, and I'm going to use that, and then we'll go on. A lot of guys we're all guilty of it. You push too hard and then you end up with a ninth because you get tired, you get arm pull, whatever happens, you start going backwards. If you can manage your fourth or your third and go, okay, all right, those guys are out of touch tonight, then that could make a difference at the end of the series.
I think that Cooper knows that Chase is faster than him. Cooper knows that. And I think he doesn't care. And he showed us that so many times last year, that he just straight up doesn't care. I mean, remember MetLife Stadium? Chase beats him by 25 seconds. They come out the next week in Pittsburgh, and Coop keeps him behind him the whole time. Just a master class. And I've always said with Cooper Webb, racing him for such a long time since we were kids, the thing about him that makes him so special is his ability. One of the things is his ability in the moment, in the heat of battle, or when the championship's on the line. His decision making is best in class. Best in class. And it's because his ability to take the emotions out of it and stay calm. It's really difficult. Man, it's really difficult being in a championship battle and all the thoughts and pressures and things that come with that. But it just seems like he's able to leave it all at the door. And it seems like he always makes the right decision in the heat of the moment. And to me, that's his biggest superpower. And I think I agree with you, Justin. I think the title runs through him right now. I mean, he is not the fastest guy on the track, but he's on similar equipment, same team as last year. You got Tomac changing, Chase changing. I think he's the guy right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think one of the other superpowers I think he has is he can get rid of last week's race. It's gone.
Yeah.
You know, if he has a bad result or a fifth or fourth,
Which is tough.
Right. It's very tough. You know, we all build on whatever happened last week, and he just throws it out the window. And he, like you said, he can go from getting whooped by 20 seconds and then next week winning, and then winning the next week and then getting to, something happening, whatever. He's really good at just like, look, that's out of the head. Now we're on to this week. And I think a guy that can manage those kind of situations in your head is proven to be, a very good championship contender because he can do those things.
What the last thing I'll say about Coop is I believe it's going to be harder for him to beat Chase this year. I think Chase also learned a lot about losing that championship last year. And I think for Coop, it's very, very important for him to not lose too much ground in kind of this West Coast swing. Say the first 5 or 6 races. I think in terms of if say he were to go on to win his 4th championship, I think this one is going to be the hardest out of all of them. I think Tomac's in a good spot, Chase is in a good spot, and so I think his margin for error is smaller than ever. That's the only thing I'll say, to the Cooper Webb point.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and I think him having such a high racer IQ, like he knows that, right?
Yeah.
I think he 100% knows that. We're gonna kind of go team by team though. So Cooper Webb's teammate, Justin Cooper, MC, you mentioned him, and the one thing that I think about with Justin Cooper is obviously we're hard on him in the whoops, right? We're like, oh, if he could just get better in the whoops. Now, my question for you, MC, is you mentioned he's the only one in our sport that made 31 races. Do we still continue to harp on him because he's not good in the whoops, and if he was better in the whoops, he'd be one of the championship favorites? I truly think he has that much speed. Or do we celebrate him for his consistency, and he's making a career? He's probably making close to $1 million a year, being at all 31 races, being consistent. So where are we at with Justin Cooper?
Well, I think he flies under the radar. I think it's a great position to be in because people look at him as the underdog. He gets great starts. He's going to lead laps. If you can get great starts, like he believes he can be up front, and that's an important factor in what we do, right? We know how important the start is. But I think this whole track change thing over the last couple of years with 8 whoops only, max, really helps a guy like him. He has improved in the whoops. We've seen that. He's doing really good. His riding, I think the missing link for him now is he needs one night. He needs one night to break through, and then he just needs that little extra percentage of confidence that he can do it. And I think we could actually see some wins out of him. But I think this, you're right. This series has a lot of guys. It's going to be a tough series. And going back to Super Webb for just 1 second, if he wins this series and beats all these guys straight up, then I think he could probably feel really good about that because the competition level this year is going to be so high and it's going to be so hard, and he's getting older now. So, but I think as far as Justin Cooper goes, he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. Keep steady, keep getting some starts, keep leading some laps, lead it for 5 minutes, lead it for 8 minutes, lead it for 10 minutes, and then eventually he's going to lead it for the whole thing. He's still a young guy. No one's picking him, right? I mean, he does fly under the radar, and unfortunately, no one's really going, "Hey, Justin Cooper is going to be our guy for the championship." But I think honestly, he's going to surprise some people.
For Justin Cooper, I think there's an aspect. He kind of got a little bit of a late start. He didn't take it as serious young. I think he grew up in the Northeast, so 6 months a year he's not riding. Because I had never really even heard of the guy's name until his last couple years of amateurs. And I think for him, I'm not sure he ever thought he could be as good as he is right now. And I think initially it's easy to be satisfied with what he's doing because he is one of the best in the world, consistent top 5 guy, podium threat, race win threat. If he stayed exactly where he is and never changed anything, that is a darn good career.
Absolutely.
But we've seen in qualifying practice, he has these insane qualifying laps, so much speed. So I think there's more there. I think his ceiling is higher, but I think it's mostly a mental thing, is being able to see yourself as being better than Cooper Webb or Eli Tomac or Chase Sexton. And I think last year, making all the races, being number 1 seed, going into the playoffs, I think he's starting to come around mentally to the idea of him, being the guy or being one of the guys. But for me, I think when I watch him ride, it's a mental thing. It's not being satisfied with a 3rd or a 4th and a 5th. I think you kind of need some of that desperation to go to the next level.
Hey, I will say this. I think that if he started a little bit late, like compared to the other riders, like he wasn't the young phenom kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was just starting to come into it like 13, 14 years old, whatever, 15 years old. And then we saw him at Loretta's just crush everyone that one year.
Yep.
And I will say this, his learning curve is still going up. Like he's still learning a lot of stuff where a lot of the other riders learn that at a little bit younger age, right? So he's still improving quite a lot. And we've seen that over the last few years. So I certainly don't think he's topped out at all, but you're right. If he can, and we can see that his mental game's getting better too. He's starting to believe it, but I think, I think quietly he's creeping up there, and I think we're going to see some good stuff from him. And the good thing is there's not a lot of expectation, right? And that makes things a little bit easier.
JB, you know what's crazy to me about Justin? We talked to him in Anaheim a couple weeks ago. 1-year contract. He's been doing 1-year contract since he got to the premier class. What is the deal with that? What more does the guy need to prove?
He was like stoked that he was sitting there with a 1-year contract. Like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
And me and everyone else, like RC and Stu and everyone's like, man, we want like some we want like 3-year deals,
Yeah.
But he was like totally fine with it. And the one thing, the old saying of we can work with speed. Dude, Jay Coop's got some speed, man.
Oh, yeah.
When you talk about those qualifying laps, and we just got done talking about Jett at the beginning of the show and how the speed he has, and that's the standard. Justin Cooper is on a very, very short list of maybe 3 guys on the planet that can match Jett. Jay Coop has got a ton of speed. So, MC, to your point, learning curve really quick, not topped out, has some of the best speed in Supercross. This could be a breakout year.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think he's so sneaky fast. I mean, he's just sneaky fast. And if you can't learn the speed. You can learn a lot of other things to make it consistent, but you just can't learn what he's got. It's cool.
I have heard, to your point, Jeremy, about the whole 9 whoop rule. I have heard that we are potentially getting 10 whoops this year. It's not a big
Really?
jump, not a big jump, but that's
Okay.
what I'm hearing through the grapevine.
Mm.
And what's
we'll see.
crazy is just that one whoop would change a lot. Like if they go 10 or 11, rather than going 3-3-3, like which J Coop would be really good at. If you have to go 4 somewhere in there and you can't do it and you left with one whoop, like it could change some things around.
Yeah, I think it's funny because the tracks now, even if it's 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, all the whoops seem to be the same size, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Sort of in the old days, it would be like you'd come to a track and we'd have like small whoops, really good entry, super good speed. The ones where you go so fast, you're like, whoa, I better slow down. I'm kind of
Yeah,
like getting
I know
squirrely.
exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
And then you have the big ones that we know, like, oh, okay, how are we going to get into these whoops? It seems like all the whoops are pretty similar in size. So we always see where they can do 3-3-3, right? Or whatever. And maybe they're going to have to, I mean, look, I'm a fan of whoops. Bring back a couple more whoops and, let's see what these guys got. I think it would change some of the jump game. You know what I mean?
Well, I cannot tell you how many times I've watched you go through a set of whoops at the Cowie team shoot on outdoor suspension. On outdoor suspension, 20 years removed from racing Supercross, and you're out in, you're riding, I don't know what you ride now, maybe once a month.
Yeah, once a month.
How gnarly is that, Justin? This guy just comes out to our team shoot, outdoor suspension, just straight through the whoops, no problem.
Hey, it doesn't surprise me, man. It doesn't surprise me because here's the thing: is MC used to come to these, and I remember watching like Friday night or something. MC, I'm not sure if you were like filming a Monster commercial or Cowie commercial or what it was, but like you can do a knack off like a curb, dude. And I still don't know how you do it. Like, I mean, you don't ride very often. You come any track, anytime, triple, double, whatever it is, and you can still bust like the best knack. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's one of those things you just don't forget. I've done a million of them, so uh, but going on to the whoop thing, like it was always one of my favorite spots because I always was like, all right, this is my spot. I could separate myself from the others. So it was very important for me to learn and set my bike up and just kind of be good in those spots. But if the tracks this year come with 9 whoops, 10 whoops, that would be pretty cool for us fans.
The one thing, the last point I'll make on Justin Cooper in talking about the whoops is I remember my last year racing in 2024. You know how when you go out for free practice and even the smallest whoops are really difficult to jump right away because they're so square on the bottom.
Yep.
Justin Cooper, the very first lap of free practice, would triple through the whoops. And I can tell you one thing, that what he does when he, yes, exactly. And what he does when he does that is harder, absolutely, unequivocally, more difficult than blitzing the whoops.
Yeah.
So I believe he can do it, but I believe if he's going to win a race, he can't only rely on the races that the whoops are not as much of a factor. He needs to close the gap in the whoops a little bit to give himself more opportunity, to have the potential to win, to have that breakout ride. He's just got to get a little better in the whoops before I'm ready to say, okay, that guy's a race winner. But that's it.
Like we said in the very beginning of this, what he does have is he has great starts. And in order to win races, you got to lead laps. And you get your head around leading laps like, oh, okay, then I feel comfortable leading laps, right? Now I led 2 laps. Now I led 4 laps. Now I led 5 laps, whatever. And I think that, there is a premium on getting good starts. And he's got that. And like Justin said, he's got that speed. So let's put all those puzzle pieces together. We may see some race wins. So
before we move on to a team that both of you guys are familiar with, Monster Energy Kawasaki, I do have one question for you, MC. We all have a bike. Like there's that one bike where like, man, that thing handled so good in the whoops. There was on track walk, we've all done it. We look at the whoops and we're like, oh man, I'm a little nervous of those things. What was the one bike through your career where you're like, big, small, square-ish, does not matter? What was the bike that you liked the best in the whoops?
Yeah, so I would say like my 96 CR 250 was pretty incredible, but I think at that stage in my career, the whoops weren't super gnarly yet, right? They were kind of getting bigger as when I left Honda, went to 97 with Suzuki, went to Yamaha 98, but about 98, I feel like the tracks started getting really big whoops. And for about 2, 3, 4 years there, the whoops were huge. And we refined that Yamaha so good, like in 99 and 90 or 99 and 2000. Um, I wanted the giant whoops, the biggest ones. I was like, oh, we'll attack anything. And we used to, like the riders, our group of riders used to be like, all right, who's jumping the rhythm first lap? When we were kind of at our riders meeting or whatever, we would always be like, all right, who's jumping that first? Larry Ward and me and Button and just different guys would be like, all right, Kevin Windham obviously too. And we'd see like who's blitzing the whoops first lap, because a lot of times when the whoops are huge, you guys know this, you come around on first lap, you'll kind of just go slow and roll through them, check them out or whatever. You never want to commit first lap. But so we would always, those are the games we used to play. And that 99 2000 Yamaha was sick. I could hit anything on that thing.
Yeah, some of the whoops in the early 2000s, late 90s, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine hitting those things on a two-stroke. Way less traction than what we've got. And just having to carry so much more speed in to get to the end. On a 450, you can almost come to a dead stop in second gear and still find a way to get to the end of the whoops. But
right.
You guys had to come in so fast.
Fourth or fifth gear on the 252 strokes?
We were fourth.
Fourth.
Yeah. I don't think we could get to fifth gear. Like by the time you got out of the corner, you'd have to be just banging gears.
Yeah.
But you'd ride around in second most everywhere. Just I don't know how the 450s are really, but second most all spots, and then shift up twice in the corners and hit the whoops. So, but we probably had a little more run in than a 450. The 450 era. Sometimes there's almost no run in. So right, you with that kind of power, you can build speed through the whoops. Just shift up and the thing will catch up. You can build speed. So, yeah, those were good days. It was super fun. We would always, I think that was always the most nerve wracking, right? It was like those first laps. Those are always the ones that get you really pumped because you're like, all right, what can I do? This is where I'm making a true test for myself. And once you got it down, you're like, okay, now I just got to figure out how to do this 20 laps or whatever. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's get to Monster Energy Kawasaki. Both of you guys very familiar with this team. You guys were at the photo shoot. AC, the photo shoot was the day of one of the media days, and you came there talking about how good both Garrett Marchbanks and Chase Sexton, who we'll touch on first, looked at the test track. So, MC, you've seen them both ride. Chase comes in, third different team in a few years now. I've been on record for a long time saying this is going to be the best version of Chase Sexton that we're going to see. I like this pairing. I like the Kawasaki for him for several reasons. I like where the team and him are at. Obviously, we'll get to Jorge Prado and kind of all that transpired with him and the team. But I think with Chase and the team coming together at this time, that's going to be a tough match to beat, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with Adam here. I know he probably went back to media day and was like, dude, you should see Chase ride this bike. I mean, he whipped out those quads the other day, like at the track that Marchbanks is not looking, no one's looking at that. And he just did a quad, greased it. The other went to the other side, which is even gnarlier, and goes, oh, I think I could do that. And he just rode over it once and just greased it. I was like, he's looking really, really good. But we all know Sexton has incredible amount of talent. And I think you're right, Justin. I think he's going to match well with the team. I think the environment's good. Pressure, part of it's really good. Cowie has a really friendly environment over there, which we all know. And I think the bike seems, I mean, as far as I could see that day, I mean, it wasn't cutting laps or anything that day, but he has an incredible amount of confidence on that bike already. So I think as long as he just doesn't expect too much from himself too early, and just can kind of ease into this thing, and I think he's going to find his way. I think he'll be up front for sure.
The only thing when I mentioned how good Chase looked, and this is what you said, Justin, you said, "Well, have we ever seen him look bad?" And it's a valid question because we would watch, of course, qualifying during Race Day Live last year, and there were times where we watched him ride, and we were like, "There's nobody that can go any faster than that. Maybe Jett." But he looks so good every time he rides the bike. But I think for Chase, I think the Kawasaki is going to help him in the areas where he excels. I think it's a more stable motorcycle than the KTM. And I think, and even watching Tomac a little in the offseason, I think Chase goes in a straight line really well, like pushing a rhythm section, a 3-3-3 or a 3-4, what we saw him do, Jeremy. That's what he does so well. He's really good in the whoops, really strong on the motorcycle. But I think on a KTM, he lost his ability to push through some of the longer rhythm lanes. I think you had to be a little bit too perfect on KTM in the chassis they have currently. And I haven't seen him ride enough to know for sure that, that's it. But knowing what I know about the Kawasaki, I've been around Chase a long time. I know the way he rides the bike. I think it's a good matchup there. But I think the reason why Chase is going to have such a good year in 2026 has a lot more to do with the lessons that he's learned mentally. I think you can learn so much more from failure than you do success. And I think coming that close, I think he knew that he kind of blew that title last year. I think he knows that. And I just get this sense of, and I talked about it a couple months ago too, but I get this sense that there's finally a more mature Chase Sexton. He's always been just an insane competitor and athlete. And what you talked about, Jeremy, with Cooper Webb, his ability to let the weekend go, regardless of it went great or it went bad. I think that's where Chase struggles the most, is just being able to move on, to remove the emotion from it, to stay calm and keep going about your business. And I think we're there with Chase now. I think he's more mature. I think he knows what he did wrong last year. And I think he's got the motorcycle to go out there and win a championship.
I think what I've seen and what I honestly don't think Chase was his best version on the KTM. I think he was faster on a Honda. And watching him ride a little bit, he's one of those guys that it's kind of hard to imagine, but when you watch a guy go through a rhythm section, he can build speed through a rhythm section. And those are those tenths and those half seconds we see at the end in the lap times. A lot of guys, they get in, once you're in the rhythm, you can run it fast. You can kind of speed jump it and stay low and all this stuff. But he has a way of improving speed through the middle and end of a rhythm section, which is, I was even seeing it in person the other day. I was like, wow, this is like pretty next level stuff. So he looks freed up to me riding the bike. I think, Adam, you have a pretty valid point. Like, he had to be maybe a little bit too perfect last, in his last team, whatever, with that bike, for whatever reason. And we saw some of that at Tomac when he was racing the World Supercross or whatever he was doing. But I don't know. I think you're right. All the things that we need to see out of Chase have been in the upstairs department, right? Because he makes some little falls with the front wheel. We see him leaning. He trusts the front tire a lot, which we know his technique's so beautiful to watch out there. But sometimes he gets a little where he pushes the front tire a little bit too much. We see him fall. We see the same fall out of him a few times here and there. If he can get rid of some of those, which is kind of what we've all been waiting for, there's no doubt I think his speed level is up on the Cowie.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think you're right, MC. Watching him on a Honda was something that you would your jaw would be on the floor. There's things that he could do on the motorcycle that just no one else can do. And I think he'll get back to those ways on the Kawasaki for a lot of different reasons. How about his teammate, Garrett Marchbanks, a guy that I know well, was down here at Club MX for years and years. I practiced with him multiple times. And I've said it before, if he could bring his Tuesday morning to Saturday night, I don't know if he's beatable. Like, this was in the 250 class, right? Like, he should have won a lot more races than he did and some championships. Now he's got that seat that a lot of people were after next to Chase Sexton on that 450 team. I think it's a great spot for him. I think Garrett obviously fits the 450 better because of his size. And I'm telling you guys, don't be surprised if Garrett gets some podiums and his speed is top 3, maybe even qualifies fastest a couple times. But how did he look at the test track to you, Jeremy?
Garrett, I'm so stoked for him. He's just kind of been this. He had the PC ride, then he didn't really ride well. Things just didn't go. He got injured or whatever, and then he's really just journeyman himself back into this thing. And I'm just stoked for him to get that seat. He looked good on the bike. Nothing to see that was bad at all. I mean, he's gonna really, that Chase Sexton speed's gonna rub off on him, I would say. You want to be as fast as your teammate. You just kind of want to do that speed, and he's going to learn that being a young guy. But you're right, his size is good. He fits the bike good. He's going to fly under the radar because he's the B team rider on Cowie. So everything that he does is going to be a bonus, right? There's not a huge amount of expectation, but quietly inside, he wants to be up front, and I think he will. I think this is his time, and he knows it.
There is something to be said too about the specific situation. I agree with what you said about Kawasaki and the environment over there, Jeremy. I think for somebody, my rookie year was similar, but they do a good job of taking the pressure off you as is. But having a guy that you know is going to win, that's going to be on the podium, being the second guy, and I kind of felt this a little bit in 2023 with, Jay Sanderson the year before had won 7 races, and the dynamic kind of shifted a little bit in 23 for me. So I have a little experience with this, but having a guy being the B guy, I think it's going to be great for Garrett's mental to not put too much pressure on himself, because that's one thing, being around him as much as I have when he first went pro, he was really, really hard on himself. And what we talked about letting the bad weekends go, letting the mistakes go, or just learning from your mistakes. In order to do that, you gotta have a little compassion, a little grace for yourself, because you're not always going to get it right. And it's really easy to let that bad energy from a Saturday carry over into Monday. And so I love the environment for him. And even watching him ride at the test track the other day, I think his bike, I think he was the best looking guy in the whoops. I mean, it's not much, right? We were just doing some photos and whatnot. But I think just his confidence level, the way he's riding the bike with conviction, I just don't know what is a successful year for him. I think he's a guy that could be, if he ended the year 8th, 9th in points, I think that's a win. What do you guys think?
I would say this. I think that in his mind, if he can be anywhere near Chase Sexton, at least, half the season in the results, maybe more, if he can be anywhere near the A rider, right, that's a win. I mean, we've seen it in the past. Like when I was back, and then we had Jimmy Button come on the team. He was down and out, whatever. We got him on the team. He started riding with me. All of a sudden he's getting podiums, right? So he's like, you want to just be next to your teammate if your teammate's going fast. So I would say, like, Marchbanks' goal should be like, get good starts, finish near Chase.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's a good goal.
That's a good goal to have. And I think if he does that, he's going to be top 5 guy, top 8, top 6, top 3. It's going to fluctuate, of course, but my first goal would be like, get good starts, be up front. Next goal will be finish near Chase. And that's it. And if Chase is not near him, then he can go ahead and he's up there and he'll finish well. But get the starts, finish near Chase. That would be my only goal. Stay healthy.
And he does have a pretty big opportunity here too, getting this ride with Kawasaki. Of course, you have Levi Kitchen, who was rumored to be, rumored to be in the spot that he is in now. You have Cameron McAdoo, multi-time Supercross winner. If he is able to get in there, develop a good relationship with the team, and have solid B rider results, he could kind of cement himself in that spot for the next few years too. So he's got a really big opportunity. If he comes out and exceeds expectations, it could change the course of the rest of his career.
And get along with Chase, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Is MC, you mentioned it. You and Jimmy Button were tight. You guys were buddies. So I think when you have that A and B, the A guy has a lot of say. Jeremy, you had a lot of say who was going to be, pitting next to you under that tent. So I think if he can get along with Chase and get some good results, it's one of the most interesting stories of the season, in my opinion. Look, we're just getting started on this list, but that seat is a highly coveted spot. Levi Kitchen wants it. Cameron McAdoo wants it. Who knows? Justin Cooper may want that spot eventually. But if Garrett Marchbanks can get out there and get along with Chase, and to your point, MC, get good results and get along with the team, man, that could be a 2 or 3 year ride, maybe even longer. So it's going to be interesting to watch that one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if they get along well, that's going to also help Chase take some pressure off. Also, if they can just bounce ideas, it's going to really help Garrett. And I mean, who's not going to get along with Garrett? He's a great kid, super nice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a great guy. So, I think he's in a great position. Like you say, Adam, if he can just capitalize on his position and do the best he can in that B slot, he could sit there right next to Chase until the end.
And we're going to move on to our next team here. We already talked about Jett's injury being out, and we're talking about B riders here. Well, this guy is the newly crowned A rider for Honda, at least for the foreseeable future. And that's Hunter Lawrence. Hunter Lawrence, he's been knocking on the door of a Supercross win the last couple years. How do we think? Well, he's already gotten a lot better, but with Jett being out, do we think that's going to have a negative effect on Hunter? We know they ride each other's bikes sometimes on Friday before the race, exchanging information. So one less guy out there. That's the only thing I'm a little nervous of for Hunter. Is it's not, I think they can take some comfort in just being out there with your brother, being the whole squad, Dazzy, Hunter, Jett, everybody. With Jett gone now, Hunter being the only guy, is that going to have a negative effect?
In my opinion, I don't think so. I think if you asked me that question 2 seasons ago, I think maybe, right? Because I think that Hunter knows that all the spotlight is on Jett, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like these last seasons, like Hunter's almost the same speed. Like, so it's hard sitting here saying Hunter's a B rider on Team Honda. He's getting good results he's getting top results. I mean, I was at Motocross of Nations. He rode so good there. He was so fast. And like the improvement I've seen out of that guy in the last couple of years is incredible. So I think this is a step in his stride. He's gonna get good starts. He's gonna get up front. I don't think he needs his brother as much as he did 2 seasons ago to drag him up with him. He knows what it takes now. He's got the speed. So I think he's gonna step right into that role and capitalize on it. I think he's gonna go. That's the way he's got to be thinking about it. He's not, in my mind, he's really, even when Jett's there, he's not a B team rider. They're both A level.
Yeah, it's interesting with Hunter because you're right, MC. They're both A level. And if we were doing a motocross preview, I would say Hunter would be the favorite if Jett was out. If we're doing a super motocross preview for the playoffs, Hunter would be the favorite. Yeah. But we're talking about Supercross, and he has yet to win. And a couple things that I think about with Hunter. For one, I talked to Brandon Wilson, boss man over there at Honda, and he was adamant to me that he did not want to put the pressure on Hunter to now leapfrog, like, you're the championship guy. You need to take Jett's place. He was adamant on they didn't want to fast track it, which I thought was really good because in my mind I'm like, Hunter, this is your shot, So they were really adamant on they want Hunter to go at his own pace, and he believes that, look, some race wins this year, and then possibly championship in 2027. Now, in saying that, if he can get a fast start in 26, like let's just say he can get a win in the first 3 rounds and tick that box. 'Cause remember, he hasn't won a Supercross yet. So if he could tick that box early and get good starts, I mean, gosh, he's such a great rider. He's so good. Supercross is, not came quite as natural, but I think if he can win early, he's for sure a championship favorite. There's no question. But don't you think, MC, he's got to win one early though?
Well, I mean, what would you guys say are Hunter's weaknesses? I mean, is it just not believing he can win? Because we've seen him ride at the front. He's won a lot. But I mean, is it in Supercross itself, just strictly Supercross, what are his weaknesses? I mean, starts, or what is it?
I think I think it's a natural progression with the way his career started, having some injuries. He, it took some time for him to learn Supercross, which I think that's one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of Hunter, is just how he's built his career from those tough first couple of years that he had. I think if anything, sometimes he's a little bit too cautious. I think if anything, there are moments in the race where the race is won or the race is lost.
Right.
And I think his ability to kind of put it on the edge for a couple laps, to get a little outside of the comfort zone, to be a little more aggressive. I don't think he needs to go out there and change the way he races completely. I just think there are moments throughout the course of a race where he would benefit from getting on the edge a little bit, from pushing it just a little more than he is comfortable with. At the same time, I understand why he's that way. He's figured out how to be a lot smarter, how to be more durable. So I think it's a natural progression, but I'd like to see a little more intensity at times.
What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I honestly just think it comes down to speed. But as soon as I was thinking that, I'm like, okay, well, Cooper Webb has never really had the speed, but we already know his playbook. That playbook works. We have yet to see Hunter Lawrence's playbook on what is that. Is it speed like Jett or like Chase? Is it the mental fortitude of Cooper Webb? Is it just the bulldog style of Eli Tomac late in the races? We've yet to see it in Supercross, so we can't really draw a conclusion on anything that we've really seen. So what is it going to be? How will Hunter Lawrence win races? It's MC, you mentioned he's a great starter,
right?
But I feel like he's just lacked a little speed in the last couple of years.
Well, I think you're probably right. He doesn't have the J. Coop fast speed lap, right? But we know he can hang in there till the end. We do know that, and I will say that I think he's improved speed wise quite a bit over the last 2.5 seasons. So I don't think there's any shortcomings in the speed level. Maybe he doesn't have those blistering, out of your comfort zone laps that you need sometimes in the very first part of the race. Because, we look at Ken Roczen, that guy can rip some laps right away. But, maybe, I mean, we can sit here and say that Jett being out might hurt him, but Jett being out might help him. Because, I mean, yeah, I know Brandon at Honda can probably say, like, all right, we don't want to put a lot of pressure on him. We want him to come in and just stick with his plan and do all that stuff. But these situations promote confidence sometimes, right? If he can get out there, like you said, have a good race, maybe win a race in the first couple races, whatever, that can kind of sort of promote you into thinking, like, all right, well, shoot, I mean, I'm here, might as well be the winner. So, and we know he knows how to win. So I think I'm at the point now where I think if Jett's there or Jett's not there, Hunter's one of the top guys. That's it. It's not with him there or without him there. He's a top guy. He's ready for a breakout season, I think. And he's gained a lot of speed and a lot of technique over the last couple of years. And I think, like J. Coop, he's not topped out. He's getting better.
I will say with Hunter, to me, he's the best starter. And I think this is backed up by stats. But he's the best starter in the class.
Yeah.
You can count on him to be inside the top 5 pretty much every single time the gate drops. So I think that's his superpower. You look at Cooper Webb, it's his racecraft. You got Tomac, he has those beast mode, when he gets in the zone and has those 3, 4, 5 laps that are just otherworldly. You look at Chase, he's got the raw speed, he's got the technique. For Hunter, I think he's got to find something. He's got the starts. He's got to find something that he does throughout the course of the main event that is better, something that he can rely on that is better than what the other guys are doing. Like he's really good at everything. He needs to find the one thing that he's great at, really hone in on that. And he already has the starts to get it done. So I think
if he's got the starts, it's got to be early in the race, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't see him coming off with late race, massive charges or anything like that. If he is top starter in the class, like he's got to find that speed in the first few laps, separate himself, then go into Hunter, Hunter riding. So
the MC playbook,
right? Just
there it is.
Bust out some laps.
That's it.
Yeah, just use the old playbook. It's written already.
It was written to about perfection. That's for sure. Let's talk about beast mode. Redbull KTM got them a new rider, Eli Tomac. And look, when this news came out, I was like, what, really? Like I was surprised. I'm like, man, this seems crazy to me. And honestly, after watching him ride a little bit, I'm excited about it. He looks eager. He looks happy. He's stoked to be at the races, it seems like. He's excited to work with a new group of people. And sometimes, look, Father Time's undefeated, but sometimes change is good. And I think this might be good, MC. What's your thoughts on Tomac to KTM?
Yeah, I'm with you. When it happened, I was like, wow, this is wild. I just was like, okay, he's a Yamaha guy and he's just going to finish it out at Yamaha. Which, look, I was in the exact position he was in. And when this happened, I was like, no, because I'm like, of course it's a different day and different, KTM's a different company now and stuff like that. But at your, the older age, Justin, this, right? It's not easy. Things don't become, because you switch bikes and all this stuff, it doesn't become easy. Yeah, maybe you get fired up for a little bit because you got a new plan, new program, new team, new managers, the whole new setup. But I think at the end of the day, my belief is that we're going to see some great rides out of Tomac. I was really encouraged by his first ride out, and he won on the bike. I was like, wow, that was pretty awesome. But then it looked like he struggled at the next race when the track was pretty loose and stuff like that. So it looked like, he wasn't perfect that day, hanging a lot of the rear end, maybe his track condition, whatever. They probably don't get they haven't tested in that condition yet. So I'm excited for it too. He won his first outing. That was pretty cool. We're going to see some great rides out of Tomac. Are we going to see the dominant Tomac that we saw in the past with this kind of competition? I don't think we are. And that's just due to Father Time. I love Tomac. I'm a huge fan, and he's going to kill it. But his playbook is still sort of yet to be seen. At an older age, it just becomes a lot harder. I know from experience.
I think with Eli, I like what you said, MC. Eli at his best on a KTM, Eli at his best can still go out there and beat anybody in the world on a Saturday night. There is no doubt about it that we're going to see some beast mode rides. We're going to see vintage Tomac. The only thing I worry about, and it's not just a KTM thing. It's, it worked out when he went to Star. Star had a great motorcycle when he left Cowie, and he had immediate success. But you've talked about it, JB. It's really difficult to change motorcycles, change this group of people that you're working with, and then go into a new year and just be the best you've ever been. Sometimes it takes some time to adjust. And the only thing that I worry about with Eli, a little golf reference for you, it's like you want your best shot and your worst shot to not be that big of a gap. You're as good of a golfer as your worst shot, essentially. And that's what I worry about with Eli. And it's more of like a comfortability thing. Is he going to find a setup that he likes or can ride near his potential most of the races? And I'm not sure. I think like what we saw a little bit this offseason with that one race he struggled at, I do think that we're going to see that sometimes. Just track conditions, the way he has his motorcycle set up. I don't think with the competition, with everyone getting faster, it's going to be a lot harder to be dominant, to separate yourself. And I think the days of Tomac having a setup that he's not super stoked on and still going out there and winning, I think that's going to be difficult. But as far as any given Saturday night, I think we could see the best version of Eli Tomac. It's just how many times are we going to see that?
Hey, MC, we're talking about Father Time. What's that Toby Keith song where it says I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I've ever been?
There it is.
That is so true.
Yeah, just from my experience, it was always harder to find my very best for 17 nights. I could find my very best on a weekend, and then the next week and be like, man, I just can't find it. And I'm never on the level of Tomac, but just for me, as I got older, that window started to get a little bit smaller for me to feel comfortable. And MC, is that what you felt? Just the older you got, just the harder it was to bring it every single weekend?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was 31 years old, and for our era, that was ancient, right? To be racing at that time, because most everyone's done by 27, 28. But I'm 31, then I'm battling Carmichael. He's 21, right? So, everything we're talking about with Tomac is only related to age. He's competing against 25-year-olds, and you just can't sometimes find it every week with the youth guys that can, right? We know he's going to go out there and be fast as Tomac's ever been. And if we were having this conversation with him being 25 years old, it'd be we'd be talking totally different. Like, he's going to come out in beast mode. He's going to win week in, week out. That's just how it is. He's just not 25 anymore, right? So he's still an incredible athlete. He's going to have phenomenal laps, and he's still really, in his head, he has a lot to prove since he lost that championship when he got injured. He's still trying to come back from that and prove that, like, that championship was his. We all knew it was his, but he had incredible speed that year. And since then, he's trying to really find that speed again, but he's aging at the same time, which makes it very, very difficult. Tomac is one of the best athletes we've ever seen in our sport. He's incredible. His fitness level is like bar none. It's the top of the pile. But age, and look, I've been there. When I'm 30 something years old, I'm like, I can still do this. I can still do it. And you have that championship mentality. I'm still the guy. But you're like, how do you compete with someone that's 25 or 23 or 22? They have less worries. They have less stuff to think about, less overhead, less everything. And they're just more on the gas and more youth. And that's just how it works out. And it's just unfortunate that way. But, we all are pushing for Tomac to just be awesome, and he will. But week in, week out, it's going to be difficult.
I think as a sport, we are definitely blessed to still have Eli Tomac out there.
Absolutely.
I mean, we go to, and we've really seen that in the last few years more than anything. But whether he goes out there and gets 7th or he goes and wins, I think it's a big thing for our sport to still have him out there, still motivated to go out there and do it. And the one thing I will say that may help him overcome the age and all the new talent is I don't think I've ever seen the guy. Every time I see him, he is happier than the last time I saw him. Have you guys noticed that? I've never seen Eli smile as much as he has in the last 6 months or so. Interviews, he's all enthusiastic and motivated. And maybe that's something, you guys can speak to this as well, but maybe there's something to, he knows the end is coming. He knows the end is near. And he's really enjoying what he's doing right now. And I know anytime I was having fun, I was doing really, really well. So maybe just him having a good time and being stoked to be there, maybe that can help him overcome the discrepancies.
For me, I'm feeling like, look, at the end of my career, I was wanting it all to be fun. I wasn't
Yeah.
going to sit there and just beat myself up and be in misery because I just
Hmm.
got beat. You know what I mean? You can grind yourself to a halt if you're that hard on yourself. I love seeing him happy. He should be taking this all in because this is a window of your life that's this long. You guys both know that. It's this long. We're going to have so much more things to do before our career really started and after our career started. And I think Tomac seems to be enjoying himself. Um, and look, he's had a phenomenal career, and he's still got some phenomenal races ahead of him, I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah.
But it is nice to see him being happy.
Well, he can be as happy as he wants. He's still not the happiest guy on his team. The next
Yeah.
guy we're going to talk about, Aaron Plessinger, still the
Yeah.
happiest guy in the sport. And talk about a fan favorite. I mean, he's really came around over the last several years of obviously being a fan favorite, but as soon as you can win, your level of fanfare goes up.
Aura,
And as soon as he won in
aura,
the premier
JB.
class, was just like was crazy. And now you go to the races, MC, you've seen it. Like AP is just, I mean, he's one of the best guys there. He's always smiling. I've never seen him in a bad mood ever. And he had a really slow start to the season in 2025. 2024, he started out super quick, had the red plate at one point, won San Diego. So I guess for AP, what's a successful year? Does he need to win another race? If we're talking about championship favorites, and probably not in that conversation, but to win a race or two, absolutely.
I think one of the things that he has going for him is Tomac's over there now, right? So all the attention's on Tomac. So I think that Aaron can just kind of slide right into this thing, keep his health good, have some good solid races, build some confidence, try to lead some laps, get some starts. Um, yeah, I don't think anyone's talking about him for a title. But he can certainly have some really good races. We've seen him have some really good races and possibly win some races. I don't know to what extent he was off the bike and his injury stuff, but he's sort of coming back from that.
Mhm.
So if he's feeling good and feeling strong and feeling healthy, I think we'll see some good races.
Well, talking to him in Anaheim a couple weeks ago, we were able to get some backstory on the sickness that he had, and essentially, he started feeling not himself around the start of outdoors. Kind of just kept training through it down in Florida, kept training through it, and he eventually got to a place where he had nothing left to give. Like he was just being asked to continue to show up, do the work, and the fact that in that moment he was able to stand up for himself, which is really, really difficult to do. Both you guys know this in our sport, to say, look, I'm too tired to be doing this. Especially when it's a sickness. It's different when you break a bone or a little concussion, something like that. It doesn't take away your man card quite as much. But when it's a sickness, and you don't have the same level of motivation, he was talking about that, how it was really hard for him to get out of bed for like a couple months. So he was still having some pretty good results. He was really battling through the sickness. But I think him standing up and saying, look, guys, I can't do this anymore. I got to go get right. I got to go figure this out. If he didn't do that when he did last summer, I think 2026 would be a really tough year for Aaron Plessinger, because when you're in a hole that deep with your body and you keep going, sometimes you can get yourself into a place where it's really difficult to get yourself out of it. So I think he saved his whole year by shutting it down when he did. I think that was an incredibly probably hard decision to make because he had such a great year going. But I think his discipline in that moment is going to set him up to have a good 2026. And I'm going to go ahead and say that he's going to win a race. He doesn't quite have the speed or the starts, or he doesn't have that one thing he does a lot better than everyone else. So he's really got to pick and choose kind of his opportunities. He's really good. He's really good in the mud. If it's raining, AP's the favorite every time.
Yeah.
Get the bark busters. The guy's used to the woods.
Yep.
But he's going to have some opportunities to win some races here and there. It just comes down to executing on those nights where the stars align.
Yeah, I think he just needs to stay in the hunt. Like, keep giving himself opportunities, right? He's a great rider.
Great rider, great with the fans.
So
Love
technically,
AP.
what was his issue? Did he have chronic fatigue syndrome? Was he having mono? What was his sort
Well,
of
that's
sickness?
the hard part is he couldn't really say what it was. Like, was it Epstein-Barr? He couldn't really
Right.
say. So that's the only thing that concerns me. Is I agree with you, Adam. I think he saved his season, but also, like, is it going to flare up February 10th or March? Something like that's the only thing that I'm a little nervous about for AP. Because didn't you get that sense, AC? Like, it was kind of like, I feel better, but we don't really know what it was.
Yeah, I couldn't really. He had to do some, changes to his diet, changes to his sleep, things. I don't want to, give everyone the information he gave us. Not all of it anyway, but there was a sense of like, okay, are these diet changes, are these permanent? Or there wasn't a definitive, this is what it is.
Well,
So
here's the
definitely
real question. The real question is going to be, does he believe now that he's good to go? Right?
Yeah.
Because if he does, then we're going to see a great Aaron Plessinger. And
Yeah.
you know, there's how many weeks a year? How many races are there now? Like 30 or whatever there are?
31.
31.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be in peak shape that long, right? So, there are weeks that you might not feel top shape because you're just kind of, maybe your body needs some rest or whatever it is. But if Aaron can have the confidence knowing that he feels really good health wise now, I think we're going to see it. We're going to see some great results.
In general, in the premier class, if you're not really confident in your fitness the last 5 minutes of the race, it's not going to happen. Like you're just straight up not winning. So I agree with you, MC. He's going to have to be tip top shape if he's going to win.
Hey, here's a bone that I have to pick with the sport actually right now.
Ooh, love it.
Talking about the last 5 minutes of the race, and just as a fan of the sport, I've been saying this for a couple of years now, but in our era, there was 20 lap races, right? Maybe that was probably a little too short. Maybe it was sometimes 15, 16 minutes, whatever it was. Maybe it was longer tracks, was 18. Daytona was longer, of course. But now they're doing 20-minute main events, right? They're having 40-second laps because of bigger bikes. They're doing 28, 30 laps. To me, as a fan, these guys are all incredible athletes. And we are gonna see the most fit guys in the last 5 minutes. But what we aren't gonna see as fans is a guy like Justin Barsha, or a guy like maybe let's just say it how it is the last couple of years. Jason Anderson, Dylan Ferrandis, guys that are like, let's say 8th place guys. We're not gonna see that guy push it hard to be at the front of every week's race, because he got to figure out a way to get to that 20-minute mark, right? And only the fittest of the fittest can get there. So my idea would be like, let's have an 18-minute main event, not a 20-minute main event. Let's have an 18-minute main event. Then we get like our 10th through 6 through 10 guys pushing a lot harder at the beginning of the race, because maybe they can make a 20-minute race, but they can't make a 22-minute race or a 23-minute race at that pace. So I think for me, it would be really cool if they kind of revisited that 20-minute main event for Supercross and shortened it a hair, and then we'd see a lot more push from the sort of the 6th through 10th guys. And for us as fans, we'd have a little bit better show, right? We'd get some of the other guys mixing it up in there. That's just kind of my thoughts on that. When we always talk about this last 5 minutes of the race, where you got your Cooper Webb, your Tomac, your Sexton, or whoever these guys are that are really, I mean, look, how many races would we see Ken Roczen on his Suzuki probably win if he didn't have the last 2 minutes?
Yeah, for real.
So that, as a fan, I think that, man, I wish that, Jay Bone and the guys would kind of revisit that.
My piggybacking off that point, you guys feel free to disagree with me. I've always been very passionate about this, and the tracks didn't used to be this way. Even when I turned pro in 2014, they were not this way. But the tracks are so ruddy.
They're hammered.
Like the last 5 minutes of a main event is like an enduro cross. Why do we have to have 10 ruts in every bowl corner every weekend, regardless of the dirt? I mean, besides like Glendale and Salt Lake, regardless of if we're in a dome, if we're outside, if we're in the Northeast, it's like we put so much water on the track, and it gets to a point where 8 minutes into the 450 main event, there's 2 lines left that allow you to do the triple out of the turn.
Well,
Like,
I'll tell you exactly why. It's the nature of a live race. They have a
for
250
sure.
main. The track gets hammered. They give the track guys 3-4 minutes during intermission, during commercial to work on it. You guys, the 450 guys, just get a track that completely sucks, and that is the nature of live TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to come up with a way that the track can get worked on a little bit more, mix in a few more commercials, mix in an event, mix in something else they could show, which, is entirely possible. But we need a little more maintenance on the track, right? Because those first few laps, you should be able to go wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But when they go out right now, first laps, they got to get in the main rut and the whoops sometimes. And that's it. If you get out of that, you've lost 2 seconds already.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the nature of that. You're right. The 450 guys get a really hammered track. And that goes back to what I was saying. And Matt, you guys know at 20 minutes, you're riding on the cement in different spots. I mean, the track, there's no lines left. It is like an enduro cross. It's more like a survival race at the end. And that could be something they could revisit for sure.
Show me the blue groove. I want to see some Anaheim 2001 blue groove. Sometimes, just sometimes. That's all I'm
Vegas,
asking.
Anaheim, Denver Supercross that one year. I mean, let's see some rock hard pack. Coliseum even was pretty hard packed, but yeah,
JB, where are you
those
at on
days are
this?
gone.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And I think, to you guys' point, and to our listeners that are probably like, oh, what's it matter? What's 2 minutes matter? I'm telling you, 2 minutes it feels like an eternity out there, because for
2
one,
minutes
fitness,
is 4 laps. Almost 4 laps.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, but I'm sure some of our listeners are like, man, it's just 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. But if you can shorten the race by 5 laps, for one, it totally changes the track dynamic on the last lap or the last couple laps for battling to happen. And then you're right. I just think sitting on the line, there's certain guys that have the belief that they can go 20 minutes, and it's probably a handful. It's less than people think.
Yep.
And the other guys are just like, all right, I need to get to the 10-minute mark, and then it's kind of survival because the track is so ruddy, and I'm not going to get 3 onto that tabletop. And then, to your point earlier when we were talking about gearing and stuff on 2-strokes, now first gear, we're all in first gear in the turns, because you got to go through the rut, and then you need so much power that instant just brap, you have to have that because it's hard to carry so much corner speed that we're all in first gear trying to 3 out of turn. So it's an interesting talking point, and it's cool to hear your point of view, MC, because the best to ever do it, right? So
gosh, I'm still such a fan. I'm like, how can we make this thing better? And I think sometimes when you see 28 laps, you're like, really, 28 laps? The race was over at lap 22 or whatever,
Yeah.
So
I get that.
I just something they should revisit. I mean, they went from 20 laps to 20 minutes. That's a huge discrepancy,
Yeah.
And we don't have to be at 20 minutes for Supercross. We don't. We could be at 18 and they could finish at 20 minutes. And instead of 22 or 23 minutes, whatever they're at, or something like that. And I just think, the 450 guys would get a little bit better track. The sort of mid-pack guys would be like, all right, maybe I can make 20 minutes now. So they'll push a little harder. We as fans would see a little bit better show. And that's kind of what I've been thinking about the last couple of years. I think that's something time they revisit. We don't need the riders riding 28 laps on an enduro cross track at the end,
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to our next guy here. This to me, you said, Justin, you said that Marchbanks is one of the best storylines. To me, this guy had maybe the worst 2025 you could have as a professional dirt bike racer. But it's Jorge Prado back with KTM, back on a, what he won, same chassis or close to, that he won all those championships in Europe on. Tomac's his teammate, Plessinger is his teammate. He's got a lot of good guys around him. By all accounts, he's happy, he's comfortable. What do we think about Prado in 2026, Jeremy? What do we think?
Well, let me say this. I don't know too much about him in the first place. I don't really follow the GPs much when he was over there. I know he was winning. Again, seems like a nice kid. He had a really weird year and situation with Kawasaki, and I just felt bad for Kawasaki on that. It just really, really not the way that was supposed to go down. He's now on KTM. For him, mentally back where he thinks he can do a better job. Just know that those bikes, we have a production rule bike. They have factory bike works bikes over there in Europe. It could be an entirely different thing than what he's riding now. Yes, it's orange, but maybe it's not close to what he's actually riding the last few years when he was riding the KTM or Gas or whatever it was. Look, he put himself under a really lot of pressure here for this coming year, because he went out and said that he could win on the Cowie, had a lot of problems. Then said, okay, if I leave Cowie and I get back on the KTM, I can be up front again and all that stuff. So it's going to be an interesting year. I think I think it's harder than he thinks it's going to be. We know that he gets pretty good starts. Supercross will be a giant test for him. Motocross, I would expect that he's probably going to be a little bit better. But you got to get through Supercross and you got to be healthy when you come into motocross season. So I'm not expecting a lot. I honestly am not. I think it's a lot harder than he thinks it's going to be. He will get some good starts, but I don't know. Even when he had a factory Cowie and he got a good start after they really busted their butt over there, he got a good start. He went back to ninth, and maybe that was just mental thing he had going on, and maybe he's, we know he knows how to win. He's a GP champion and stuff like that. So I'm not, I don't know. For me, it's just, I'm not expecting a lot. We'll see what happens.
JB, where are we at? Where are we at on Prado? We've rode this roller coaster.
It has been a roller coaster. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think for Jorge, it's the best thing for us is we're going to get to see the best version of Jorge in his opinion, because he thinks the KTM is a better motorcycle. He's had, success on it in the past. And we're going to find out whether that's the same results as he did on Kawasaki, or if they're going to be better. At least we're going to get to find out. And honestly, for him, he's going to get to find out as well. I think MC's totally right. Getting through Supercross is going to be the biggest challenge. I don't even think results matter that much in Supercross for him. I would love to see him get to motocross healthy and then start to build some momentum and see what he can do. Because he said he wants to win motocross. So we'll see if he can do it.
We shall see. I think, yeah. I don't know what we've talked about him a lot. It's been a crazy up and down story, but the one thing that I will say about Jorge is through this whole thing, and even talked to him a couple of weeks ago, his demeanor and attitude has, of course, at times last year we know that the attitude wasn't great, but every time I've seen him recently, he's pretty chipper. He's got a smile on his face. So he's gone through, regardless of the mistakes or the things that he's brought on himself, it's still a hard thing to go through. Moving to a different country, a new series, getting hurt, it going south with your team. I mean, that is a lot of adversity. And the fact that he still seems motivated, seems happy, I think that's a testament to his overall character. So I think he does add some, he adds value to our series here, and I'd like to see him do well. He's gonna get good starts, but yeah, he's going to have to take some beatings in Supercross, metaphorically,
Yeah.
in order to kind of make it to outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, look, he made it really rough on himself in the very beginning when he first came here. You know, he was set such high expectations for himself, and it just sort of backfired on him. So we're gonna let the racing speak for itself. You know, he seems to be mentally in a good spot because that's where he wants to be, right? He's got some confidence with KTM. It was a sort of a strange year, and everyone was like, what is going on? Which he brought a lot of that on himself. So at this point, it's like, look, I hope it all goes well, but what happens on track is going to do the talking.
Straight up.
Yep. Excited to see it. A few more teams to get to. Rockstar Husqvarna, Malcolm Stewart, and RJ Hampshire. Man, maybe the coolest race of the season, or as far as memorable anyways, was Malcolm Stewart getting his first Supercross win in Tampa in 2025. Such a special moment. His big brother James in the booth. That was a lot of fun and really cool to see. And look, I don't think there's anybody that dislikes Malcolm Stewart. So it was a very popular win in the pits. Can he get another one, MC? Can he get win number 2 in 26? What do you think?
I think it's absolutely possible. I think we just saw him race the Supercross in Europe, right? Was that against the Lawrences? And he put it to him pretty good. Now they were all on standard bikes. You know, and maybe just something clicked. He's like, hey, now I'm on the same bike as these guys, whatever. But he wasn't accepting second place. He was winning, and that's the way it was going to be. And if we see that kind of fire out of Malcolm, which I believe we will, he has a good shot at winning a race. I think a race or even more. That race he won last year was a big-time fan favorite race for all of us as fans, and I'd like to see some more of that.
It's easy to root for Malcolm, and I kind of draw a comparison to Plessinger, actually his training partner with Eldon Baker. But Malcolm always looks like he's having such a great time. Like every time I see him smiling, when things don't go right, he's good at letting it roll off him, and just pretty level-headed guy. And I think that's so easy to root for. I really do. I mean, a lot of the fans that watch every weekend, they want to ride their dirt bike as much as possible. And oftentimes, guys in our positions, we start taking it for granted because there are parts to the job of being a Supercross racer that is really difficult, and you have some bad results, some injuries. It's easy for it to be a grind and to kind of lose that enthusiasm. And if anything with Malcolm, I think the older he's gotten, the almost happier he's gotten, the more enthusiastic he is. And he just always, even opening ceremonies, he's always hyping the fans up. He's always having a good time. And so I love that about Malcolm. I think it's so easy to root for. And that performance he had in Paris this offseason, I've never seen him look better. I've never seen him look better on a motorcycle. I mean, that was a surgical performance. I mean, he didn't put a wheel wrong the entire time in going up against, really two of the favorites to win races, win championships, Hunter and Jett, and Cooper Webb as well. So you got to imagine he's got some confidence from that. And I'll say with Malcolm the same thing I said about AP. And, I could also say this about Anderson and even Kinney to an extent. They're not going to have, they're not like a Chase or a Jett where they can show up any given weekend regardless of the condition and they have everything they need to go out there and win. These guys like AP and Malcolm, they're opportunistic winners. It's kind of hard to say that about Malcolm because he got a 10th place start at Tampa when he won and ripped through the field. But there are just going to be certain times when they're feeling it, the track is to their liking, the bike is to their liking, they get a decent start. So some things have to work out for these guys to go and win a race. I'm not sure how many opportunities Malcolm will have to win a race this year, but based off what I've seen in the offseason, I think he's got a better shot. He's got a better shot of winning one this year than he did last year.
Hey, two things go in his favor. He didn't really get serious until an older age. So he's accepting and loving the grind right now at a little bit elder age. He's not old or anything, but he's been there for a while. And when you don't have to do all that grinding when you're young, doing it at a little older age is more acceptable to you, right? He is still getting, I mean, honestly, he's still getting better. And at the end of the day, for him, he's so happy. And if all else fails, he's going fishing. So he ain't worried.
Oh, yeah. He loves it.
Yep.
How
What do
about
we
his
think about
teammate
RJ?
RJ Hampshire? He was maybe my favorite, one of my favorite to talk to at media days. He's such like, I don't want to say normal guy because we're all normal, but like he's just like happy to be there and so normal, and will just kind of tell you exactly what's on his mind. And Jeremy, he was telling us that he was riding with Tomac one day, and Tomac, he's adamant on running that scoop tire. So RJ tried it, and it was unbelievable. He was like, it was amazing, whatever track they were riding. So he went back to Florida and still had it on, had a big crash with it on, sideways in the whoops, and cracked his shoulder blade, his scapula. So the scoop bit him. The scoop got him. So he's going to be a little behind the 8 ball, but he was so transparent and so honest. I thought it was really, really cool of RJ to share that.
It's really funny to me that everyone, all the riders are running the scoop tire. For at least for the longest time, they don't really corner on the flat corners super well, right? Because they're so open, such an open pattern. But they go forward in a straight line on the start so good that guys are afraid to not run them, right? So it's interesting to hear that RJ had a problem with that at the test track, which I could see happening. I'm sure they're making improvements to those tires these days, but it will be interesting to see what he shows up with, right? I think Hampshire is a lot like he's a lot like Garrett Marchbanks, or he's a lot like one of the guys that are in these B spots on the team, because he's been there such a long time. But the question is, should he be on a 450? Like, is he worthy of that position? I think he is. I think he's definitely going to be flying under the radar, right? He's going to need to get good starts, prove what he's got. He's definitely a seasoned vet out there. He knows what he has to do. It's just going to be whether he's going to be able to stay away from some of the injury and just get out there and show us what he's got.
One of the things I love the most about RJ, you guys know you've had those days from hell at the races where you get a bad start, maybe you're in a first turn crash, you crash again, maybe crash again, something happens, you're off the track, in the tough blocks, whatever. No matter what happens to RJ Hampshire when he's on the track, there is no room whatsoever inside for discouragement. You say that same thing happens to me. Maybe the third time I crash and I pick the bike back up, like the last 5 laps of the race, my lap times are probably not going to be that great, because I'm pretty much cashing it in at that point. Like, I know I'm getting 12th. I don't want to crash again. RJ is going to end up passing 5 more dudes and finding a way to get 7th out of nowhere. And so that's one thing I think it makes RJ so easy to root for, is that you're going to get his absolute best every single time. And I think, if anything, that's also his weakness sometimes. I think sometimes he tries too hard, is too aggressive in the kind of the riskier parts of the track, ends up hitting the ground. But the biggest question we had when he moved up to the Premier class last summer was he going to find a way to chill out a little bit? And he was one of the most consistent guys. We talked about it every weekend, but he was so consistent week in, week out. It's harder. I think it's going to be harder for him to transfer that into Supercross, where a lot more can go wrong. That's the only thing with RJ. If he can find a way to just be a little bit more cautious sometimes and get rid of some of those silly mistakes in Supercross, but also maintaining that kind of grit that's got him to where he is now. I don't know. To me, we haven't seen the ceiling for RJ. I think he could be a top 5 guy at some point.
Yeah,
I think
I think
there's
so.
no
Be
doubt.
interesting.
Oh, go ahead, Justin.
No, you're good, MC. Go for it.
I think there's no doubt that he's so tenacious, right? I mean, there's no quit in that guy. He
Zero.
we've seen great motocross races out of him. When he moved up to 450, he's killing it, like top 4 guy pretty much. A lot of the races, top 3. So it's there. It's there. I think you're right. He just need to get some good starts, get some consistency going, stay away from some of the little falls, and don't over push it where he puts himself at risk. But he knows what to do. He's been here long enough. He's a veteran out there, and if he can get good starts, he'll probably be in the hunt.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, be exciting to see how he does. Let's move on to Progressive Twisted Tea Suzuki.
They're stacked.
I'm going to make a bold claim here, guys. I'm going to make a bold claim, and I want to see if you guys agree with me. I think this 2026 is Ken Roczen's best opportunity to win a Supercross championship since 2017. Agree or disagree? Since his big injury. Just how he's looking, he's racing a lot of guys that are changing. His main competitors, Chase Sexton, Eli Tomac. We did talk a lot about Cooper Webb, but he's also got a new motorcycle that he's testing, obviously same team.
Right.
But there's a lot of change. It's all the same. He works closely with a guy that you're very familiar with, MC, Larry Brooks, who I think is one of the best team managers ever. And I think he's helped Kenny tremendously. So I just think where Kenny's at with the bike, where he's at personally, racing all these guys, now that Jett is out, I think this is his best opportunity. He's going to start fast early. He's my favorite to win Anaheim 1. I think it's his best opportunity to win a Supercross championship in 2026.
I'm a huge fan. I think Ken is just a fun guy to watch on the track. His speed, his style, all this stuff. He's incredible to watch. And I think you're right. He there's no one that has better first 5 minutes probably than Ken at this point. And gosh, that huge crash. I mean, it's just incredible that he's even out there with us still, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was pretty gnarly. And but yeah, I think if he can get out strong, he does. He gets good starts. If he can start the series strong, the question that we have had over the last few years is, can he make the whole duration of the series, right? And we've talked about this earlier with some other guys, but maybe Ken needs to find a way when it's not perfect to mellow out just a little bit and keep the good result instead of have a crash and go to 10th or DNF or whatever, which we have seen. I mean, that wild crash last year where he tried to split those dudes in sand and just everything went haywire. That was wild. So I think, if he can manage himself in those situations where when it's not perfect, then he has a good shot at the duration of the series, because we know he has the speed and we know he can win races. I think we're going to see it. Yeah.
He absolutely is going to win races. He's going to win races. What does he need? What does Ken need to do to win a championship? When I ask myself that question, I think what he does so well is he gets great starts. He's really good in the opening laps, and he's normally really good. How many times has he won Anaheim 1? Like 3 or 4 times. He's normally really good at the beginning of the season. To me, the first thing that needs to happen is physically, meaning his body. We've seen it over the years. We were just talking about it with Plessinger. A lot of these guys have this because it's such a grind, as you guys know. But we've seen times where he hasn't been able to get to the end of the race. Like those last 5 minutes, those crucial last 5 minutes. You even said it earlier, MC. You said, how many more races would Kid have won if the race was 2 minutes shorter?
Yeah.
So the first thing that needs to happen is, can he be physically able to go the distance 17 races? There's probably going to be some races where you have a head cold or you're not feeling great, but for the most part, can he be healthy? And I think if the answer to that is yes, I think he does. I think it is his best chance to win a championship since 2017. I do. And I think the way that he does it is he starts out the season really strong. He's kind of that explosive guy where he can come out, and even with the offseason stuff that he does, He'll take the whole summer off, and then we'll go see him race, and it looks like he never left. Like he's just really good at opening the season strong. So can he get out to an early points lead and then kind of manage it from there? Because then you're putting everybody else in a position where they have to make points up on you every single weekend, and then some mistakes can come. So to me, that's the template for Ken to win this championship. He's got to start strong, and he's got to be healthy the whole way through. But I agree. I mean, watch him in the offseason too. I don't think there's any reason to doubt his ability to go out there and win on any given night.
What a story that would be, though, huh?
Crazy.
Like for the sport.
Crazy. And
it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the same thing that I said about Justin Cooper, about maybe not being desperate enough. Another thing with Ken is he was supposed to be, before the injury, he was going to be the next Dungey, the next Villapoto that was going to come in and win all these championships. And then that kind of ended up, after the injury, being split between Cooper Webb and Eli Tomac for the most part. Jason Anderson, of course, won in 2018. But can he find that? He's got a great niche right now. He's the king of the offseason. He's always in the mix in Supercross. But does he want it? Does he want it bad enough, as bad as you need to want it, to go all the way to the end of the championship with all these guys? He's got to answer that question for me.
Well, in my mind, he has to come up with a better race strategy. We know he can win. We know he can lead laps. We know he can get fast qualifiers. We know he can lead for 5 minutes. We know he can even lead for most of the race. But he needs to be able to accept when maybe it's when he's starting to lose it a little bit. Maybe he needs to be okay with a third, or be okay with a second, or a fourth, or whatever. Because oftentimes when he's not in the lead, he starts coming back, someone's battling with him, then he gets into a crash. Then he'll go from like second to whatever, 14th. And he has to avoid those. So in my mind, he has all the tools. He needs to come up with the strategy to get it to the end of the series, which we know the other guys have the playbook. Cooper Webb, different guys. Justin Cooper searching for that. But Ken Roczen, he has all the tools to get it done. He's just got to have a little bit better race strategy late in the race, I think, for a lot of these.
Yeah. Going to be interesting. How about his teammate Jason Anderson making the switch over from Kawasaki to Suzuki? For me, it's an interesting one. Like I think it all comes down to how motivated Jason is personally, and like how bad does he want to be at the races. If he wants to be there bad and wants to win again, 100% he could win, no question. I think all three of us probably think that. It's just like, where's the motivation level for Anderson? That's kind of it for me. MC, what do you think about Jason?
Yeah, he's an incredible talent. I think if his head's in the right space, he can be up front. I think he'll be up front. Honestly, I think he really likes the position of being sort of under the radar and just doing his thing. And I think the Suzuki team really fits his persona and what he's doing, and the way he wants his life to be right now, which is good for him. And we saw some great off-season races with that bike. So he's a former Supercross champ. Incredible talent out there. The sort of the thing with him is always like, is if he can stay away from battling with guys too much, getting into trouble out on the track with other riders, just creating speed bumps for his own race. If he can avoid some of that, he can be up front. I would say every week he gets good starts. He rides fast. If he can avoid some of those temptations to knock a guy around or get into a little battle with someone while he's passing or they're passing him, you got to let that stuff go. You can't have those enemies on the track for a long series like that. You got to just, sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not, and you got to be able to accept that on the times it's not, you got to let it go. It doesn't mean you got to get in a battle with the guy. So we've seen that disrupt some of his races, but I think he's in a good space. I think we're going to see some good races. He's on a really fun team. I think they're probably having fun over there. So we'll probably see a pretty good, motivated Jason Anderson, I think.
It's funny because of Jason's persona, the whole Team Fried thing, I would think that in general, from a fan's point of view, they don't associate him as the guy, somebody like a Tomac that's going to go and work super hard and really grind it out, a lot of laps, gym, bicycle, all this. But my experience with Jason is different. Like that guy knows how to work, man. I've never seen somebody when he left the KTM group, when he left Husky, I believe this was in 2021, he got on a Kawasaki. Of course, he was super motivated at that point. You're switching teams. You kind of got a point to prove to your old employers. I've never seen somebody ride so much. Like the amount of laps that he would do, how he would always want the track to be as difficult for him as possible. Whatever he was struggling with, and this even goes back to early in his 450 career when we were training together with Eldon Baker. He wasn't that great in the ruts, and man, we would do our motos, and he would stay. He would stay and practice ruts or just whatever his weakness was. So I have a lot of respect for Jason and just his work ethic. I think it's super under the radar. He's a really intelligent rider. And it goes back to what you said, JB, about his motivation level. I think it was getting a little stale for him at Kawasaki for whatever reason. In this new environment he's in, Ken, we know, likes to keep it mellow, likes to have a good time. Larry Brooks is great for that, like a real rider's rider, knows how to communicate with his guys. So I think all signs point to Jason having a really good year. And I'm not quite sure where that is yet. I know we've talked about him maybe winning races. But we forget, I mean, even last year, we kind of look at it as an off year for Jason, but he podiumed 3 of the first 5 races. And, he wasn't in that great of a spot, like mentally or physically. So how much better can he be in this new environment?
I think if he can come out and do that, then he's sitting in a really nice spot. I think half of, part of his mojo is, like you said, with the team pride thing, is people think he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, for real.
And I think for him, that's like exactly what he wants everyone to think. You know what I mean? So I agree with all that. I think he's in a great position. Larry's, really good with the riders, obviously going to put those guys in a nice headspace. And I think he's going to surprise some people. I think, typically we all know that when you start heading the direction he's in, it's sort of signs to the end of the career. But I think this could be a resurgence for him.
He's a smart racer too. He is really smart. He's a guy that he wasn't obviously battling for wins the last couple of years, but he finds himself in that position again, say at Anaheim 1, and I have full trust in him, racecraft wise, to rise to the occasion in the moment and do it. I mean, the guy's a champion, a winner. He could do it.
As long as he doesn't get caught up focusing on one guy, any guy, whoever that guy is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he can avoid the speed bumps,
mm-hmm.
then he's got a great racecraft. He's got great fitness, awesome bike skill. And I agree. He can be up front.
You've got to manage, you know this, Jeremy, from years and years of winning. You have to manage the amount of enemies that you have. You do not want to create too many roadblocks for you.
Absolutely. That's key.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Anderson does. It's going to be one to watch. Colt Nichols, the third member of that team there. Colt's interesting, 250 Supercross champ just a few years ago, and has kind of struggled in the 450 class to get his groove going. And he's one of the guys, I think, AC, you and I talked about this a couple months ago. He's one of the good guys of the sport, obviously, but he's a guy that I would love to see just get in the mix. And in the mix, I mean, like confidence. 5 to 10 every week, get some 8ths, get a 6th here and there. I would love to see that. I think the sport's better with Colt in it. I think he's a great personality. But what would it take to get there, man? I don't know. I really don't know at this point.
When you're a guy, I think like Colt, who's struggled with some injuries, changed teams a few times. I mean, it's really hard to build that confidence back. We all know that, like, man, confidence gets compiled, right, as you kind of build it little by little. And he's just kind of been stuck with injury and just situations, the last few years. So I think if you saw him go out and get a 6th or an 8th or a 9th, I think that's considered a win, and you can kind of build from there. It's going to be a tough go with the field the way it is, but again, he's got a great team. He's got Larry over there. I mean, those guys are doing a good job. So we'll see.
I really do think that it's just really easy to fall into a rut, especially in the premier class. You can get away with a lot more in the 250 class, and you really have to have all your ducks in a row if you're going to. I mean, how many guys do we look at on the start list for A1 and we say that he should be a 5 to 10 guy? He should be inside the top 10. I mean, there's only 10 guys that can get top 10. And Colt has surprised me. I raced him my last year on 250s quite a bit before that, but especially I remember him my last year on 250. And on a specific track condition, especially when the track's a little slick, traction's hard to come by, he's got a really good feel for the motorcycle, feel for the traction. He's super naturally gifted, but to me, it's just what it is for most of these guys. It's just mental. It's being able to.
And he needs to stay healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to stay healthy, and yeah, it's really difficult when you keep getting hurt. You're taking time off. Everybody's getting better. So I don't know. I don't know what Colt can do. I think he can get some top 10s. Will we see him consistently in the top 10? Right now, I would say probably not. Does he have the ability to? Yes, but something's going to have to click mentally. Like, he's lost these last couple of years on a 450. He's lost that aggression that's required to be up there, to be battling with these guys. I mean, it's a dogfight. 5 to 15. Mm-hmm. My last year, I was in that 10 to 15 slot a lot, and it's risky business back there, dude. If you can get a better start, and be in that 7, 8, 9, it's a lot more of a comfortable ride. So I don't know. Colt's gonna have to step up mentally for him to get out of the
I think if you're a guy like Colt, you just need to go worry about the start. The rest will take care of itself. My goal would be let's get up front, right? Yeah, I'm not going to stay up there. It's a long race, whatever. There's plenty of fast guys, but if you can get up there and sort of get some confidence with being up front, maybe he ends up 10th, whatever, that's fine. But just go for a start. That would be my goal. Get up front with the top guys. See what happens.
Yeah, and it's got to help having Kenny and Jason on the team, right? Like, they're going to be getting podiums and potentially wins. That's got to only help to push a guy like Colt that has the skills of those guys. I mean, let's be honest, he's got as much skill as anybody out there, so he can definitely do it. Move on, TLD Redbull Ducati team. MC, a great friend of yours, and Troy Lee got a new venture. Bikes look awesome. Ducati, what a cool brand to be at Supercross and motocross. And as far as the riders, Justin Barcia and Dylan Ferrandis, I mean, expectations probably pretty low, right, with a new team and new bike, but riders that are highly capable. And I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is just the look and feel of the team. Like Troy, when he puts his touch on stuff, there's no one that can do it as good as Troy Lee.
Yeah, I'm excited for Troy. He's one of my best friends, and he just loves this sport so much. And you're right, Justin, the touches he puts on his team and just the way the whole thing looks, it's really awesome. I think Dylan and Justin are going to have they're going to have a tough time. It's not easy break into this deal with a brand new bike and all the testing they need. And but look, we can watch. I'm a huge fan of MotoGP. I mean, we can see what Ducati's doing over there. They've just been crushing everyone for the last couple of years. There's no doubt it can happen. They're gonna do their best to make it happen. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean for us as fans with Barcia and Ferrandis? Honestly, I'm thinking I mean, Barcia gets pretty good starts sometimes. I mean, if he can get some good starts, be up front. But I'm thinking if they can get some top 10s off the right off the beginning of the series, new bike and all that stuff, I would consider that a win. it's not going to be easy. These guys, they've only had a couple months. I don't know how many bikes they've actually had to test. It's not going to be easy. And I wouldn't expect, I'm not expecting a lot. They are going to look good. It's pretty cool. We got a brand new brand coming out in the sport, which is really cool. New manufacturer. That's neat. But I'm not going to put a lot of weight on results for these guys in their first Supercross season.
Yeah, I think with Barsha, I think he's got the potential to be a top 5 guy if they can get the bike to a decent spot and he can stay healthy towards the end of the year. I think he could be a top 5 guy, but in the beginning, like you mentioned, MC, I think somewhere near the top 10 would be good. But here's a guy in Dylan Ferrandis to where I think we forget just how good he was when he first got into the premier class. I raced him my last year on 250s in 2019, had some of the craziest battles ever. Dylan was always really respectful, really good racer, good racecraft. Won those championships in 2020 on a 250, and then first year in the premier class wins a premier class outdoor title. Like, the guy was the real deal. I mean, he's beaten Tomac, beaten all these guys. So, but he struggled with some health, injuries and so on and so forth. But I think Ferrandis is a really interesting guy to watch going into 26, because I'm not sure where all that went, but I imagine that's still in there. And if I had to pick between these two guys in terms of ceiling, I think at this point, Ferrandis has a higher ceiling. So can they get the bike to a competitive level? It remains to be seen. But I'm still looking for more from the 14. I think it's in there still.
Yeah.
I mean, he was pretty high on the motorcycle right at media days. I mean, he really, really likes the chassis on that Ducati. But I think, we're just going to have to see it play out. I think it's so difficult, to both of you guys' point. New motorcycles are always tough, and motocross seems to come easier to new bike brands, obviously, because that's where most of the testing gets done. Riding them on a Supercross track, we know it's really, really difficult. I mean, we've seen guys struggle on bike brands that have been around for years and years and years. They change a model, and we're like, it takes 4 years to get it right. So a brand new bike, got the work cut out for him, but stoked to see him there. Stoked to see Troy in the mix again. That's cool.
Pressure's off, though.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The pressure's off. I think honestly, the cards are stacked against him, to be honest. But, both those riders are great riders. They know what to do. Again, I think my outlook would be like, hey, get some good starts, see if we can put this thing in the top 10, and we'll work on it from there.
What's next, JB? Who we got? I feel like we
got Triumph, but Jordan Smith's going to miss the beginning part of the year. But Jordan, I think, is going to be a great addition to the 450 class. He's, 250 race winner. Faulkner is going to start the season on 450, which we touched a lot in the 250 preview. A couple more teams. The only two left, Beta, Benny Bloss, Mitchell Oldenburg, two great guys, solid results for that team. I think they've made Beta look extremely good. I think those two guys are the perfect guys for that team, because Benny Bloss can qualify and go as fast as pretty much anybody at times, and Mitchell Oldenburg is just a blue-collar guy that can get up there and get in the top 10. So a couple of good guys of the sport. Beta, be fun to see them back out there and hopefully getting inside the top 10, fellas.
I would say, those guys are pretty perfect for that team. I think wasn't Colt on that team when it first launched, right? And he seemed to struggle with it a bit, but Bloss and Oldenburg are looking pretty good. They had some good results last year, right? Yeah. And I think Beta's doing a good job. And it's what's great about the sport, man, is there's just so many factory seats. There's like a whole main event lineup of all team rides, so that's why all these spots are so coveted. I think it's gonna be fun to watch. Again, if those guys can mix it up in the around the 10 position, probably looking, that's considered a win.
Yeah. I think Benny Bloss deserves a bigger paycheck. I don't know what he makes, but being 6'5" and racing a dirt bike, it still doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't.
Technically, he's the one that got the bike working pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and that's my thing with Beta so far. in the last couple of years. I mean, Colt, I did hear some things about Colt struggling on the motorcycle, but Oldenburg and Benny Bloss, I've never heard them complain about the bike. Now, the only thing, I listen to all their interviews, and they say the same thing. Bike's great, man. I love it every time. So if you're Beta, you're stoked. Yeah. Like these guys, they're the type of guys, Benny and Mitchell, they're kind of the same type of rider in a way. They both can show you those flashes of speed. If they can stay healthy when the field thins out towards the end of the year, they can get inside the top 10, get some TV time. I think they're in a perfect spot.
And it's real too. Like you mentioned, listening to interviews. We all know sometimes we listen to interviews and then we talk to the guy off the record and they're saying the opposite thing. It happens all the time. But they're for real, behind closed doors. They love the bike. They love the team. So I think it's a testament to Beta and how good they've gotten it. Last team for me, and honestly one of the most interesting stories potentially of 2026, the Quad Lock Honda team getting Christian Craig. Now, we've talked about Ken Roczen and Chase Sexton, and these guys are unbelievable on a motorcycle. Christian Craig, the level is with those guys, those types of names, when you talk about just pure bike skills. And the races that we've seen him in the offseason do, I mean, MC, Christian Craig, man, he might be back. He might be back. What does that mean? I don't know for sure, but maybe some top fives, maybe a podium. This could be a good year, a little resurgence for Christian.
Yeah, I mean, we just love watching Christian ride, right? He's got skill level so high, style so good, nice kid. And I'm sure that some of the technology from the factory Honda team is going over to the Quad Lock team. And so he's on a great bike. Yeah, I mean, the question is, I think we're going to see some good stuff out of him, just like we did in the offseason. He rode pretty great. But he's going to need to get up front. He's going to need to get some good starts. He's going to need to be able to be there for the duration of a whole main event. He does have some, sometimes has some funny stuff happen, crashes and stuff like that. But if he can keep himself mentally right, I think we can see some good races. He's a great rider.
Yeah, ultimately it's about being able to look to your right and look to your left when you're on the gate and just not being scared. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to do. I've been there and I've experienced it both ways, where I've looked at these guys and read their name on the back of their jersey and I've been like, dude, what am I doing up at the front of the race with this guy? And it just, depending on mentally where I was, at that moment in time. And I think there's a case to be made for Christian getting to the point. I think he's 34 now. And I think he's one that's always had a tough time kind of, with the pressure. And I think the same thing we touched on with Eli Tomac. It's like once you see the end getting a little closer, sometimes it kind of broadens your perspective a bit and can take some weight off your shoulders. It looks like that's what's been happening with Christian. I mean, we saw in the offseason, he looked like he belonged where he was. I love watching the guy ride a dirt bike. I really do. He makes it look more fun than maybe anybody on earth. So can he do it? To me, it's just if he's going to be able to reach that point mentally where he can kind of just block it out. But he's as good as a rider as anyone I've seen on a bike for a lap, a turn, a section. I would love to see him do well. Another comeback. We should start for one, we need to have a banquet again at the end of Supercross. Yeah. But we need to have like a comeback rider of the year award, because someone's always coming back from something.
Yeah.
And I think Christian Craig is a prime candidate to be comeback rider of the year in 26. Stamp it.
Listen,
I think I will say, Rich,
go ahead,
MC, you know Yariv well as well. I think Yariv is a great guy and the perfect guy to be in Christian Craig's corner at this point of his career. I mean, Yariv single-handedly resurrected my career, and I went on to get multiple podiums and win Daytona and all that. And that was a lot of due to Yariv and just the way he believes in you. You feel like you're a part of it. You want to do well for him. And I've said multiple times, there's not very many guys in the sport, or whether it's any sport, that you truly feel like you want to do well for. And that's when you see, I mean, guys like, Jeremy, you and Larry Brooks, I'm sure that you wanted to do well for them. Like you guys were in it together, and you see these great NFL teams, they have so much trust in their coach, and the coach has trust in the quarterback and the lineman and all that. And I feel like that's what we're seeing with Christian and Yariv. So now it's just a small sample size so far, but I really feel like this is a resurgence. And that's why I say it's one of the most interesting stories of 2026 because of that. So I think Yariv's a huge asset to the sport, and he's got teams all around the world right now. So shout out to Yariv. He's doing well.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Yariv. He puts together a program that is just top notch. So, and to go back to Christian, I think, what'd you say, 34, 35, whatever age. I think at this point he knows everything from here is a bonus, right?
Mm-hmm.
There really shouldn't be any pressure on him. And you guys know on those nights when you can ride with no pressure, that's when you get your best results. We saw some great off-season rides from him. He just needs to stay healthy, have some fun, do what he does, just be awesome on that bike. And I think some good results will happen. No one's looking for a title out of him, right? He's 34. He's the twilight of his moto supercross career. And that's okay. He's in a really good spot. He loves his team loves him, and mentally that can put you in a great spot. So, I think we will see some brilliance out of him. Let's just hope he can do it more consistently than we've seen in the past. And from what we saw in the off seasons, it's all good signs.
So who is the lineup? It's Christian Craig, Joey Savacci, and
Shane McElrath.
Dude, that's kind of a squad.
It's a solid
good team.
Yeah. I mean, we saw Savacci. That guy never stops racing either. Never stops all year round. 12 months a year he's racing, and he's always solid. Almost, won that off-season championship. So I don't know. I if I had to pick who would have a better year between Joey Savacci and Christian Craig, I think as of right now I would still say Savacci because he's been so solid. But I will say that I think Craig has a higher single race ceiling than Joey. Would we agree?
I don't know. Weren't we just seeing Savacci and Anderson battling?
Yeah, we did.
So, I mean, Savacci has those great nights too, I think. Look, I think there's no doubt the Quad Lock team has a great group of guys. I think any one night, those guys are top 10 dudes. So we just got to see it. So they're all looking like they're in a good position, and Savacci's he's fresh off some really nice races. So he didn't get much break. He should be going into A1 with some good confidence.
To me, these stories are as equally interesting as, the guys like Cooper Webb, Tomac, Sexton. There's these races within a race where guys can kind of outperform their expectations. And I think all three of these guys on Quad Lock, Craig, Savacci, McGrath, those are all guys that have more in the tank than what we've seen. And even with McGrath, too. On nights where he gets a good start and he gets up front, dude, he can pretty much run with anybody. We saw that, we saw him do really well in Melbourne, the OzX Open this past November. So who knows? Exciting.
I think the good thing they have going for them, though, is they've all been so great on 250s. They still know the feeling of getting up front. It's not like they're trying to work their way up there. They know what it feels like to be up front, right? So that's what they have as an asset to them going forward into A1 here is, maybe they're not expected to be the top 450 guy, but they know what it's like to win races. And they know that, like, if they can get a top 10, a top 6, a top 8, whatever, I mean, that's going to be a serious battle for them, which will bring back some of those great feelings that those guys all had on 250s.
Well said.
And if it is true, if we do go to 10 or 11 whoops, it'll single-handedly make Christian Craig's results better, period.
No question about it.
Right? Those two things will correlate with each other. So
make whoops great again. Let's do it.
Oh, I love that. I will say Christian going to the 450 class at the same time we went to the 9 whoop roll. That's just a very unfortunate coincidence. That did not do him any favors at all. But dude, this is such a fun time of year. You look at this list of guys we talked about, and so many question marks. I'm so stoked that we get to do this. I cannot wait for A1.
Yeah, I would agree. Thanks, you guys. It's been fun. It really is amazing that we just talked about all those guys, and that's like a whole rack of start. You know, there's some of those guys that will not make the main event, which is pretty hard to believe. You know, the competition level is so high. 2026 season's looking so good for us as fans and riders. I just, as always, I'm just getting my hair stands up, getting ready for A1, so I'm excited for it.
Can't wait.
That's awesome. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us, man. We definitely appreciate your time. And AC, we got the bench race with the King, dude.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, what is this life we get to live? How did this happen for us?
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm just as privileged. So thanks for having me on. I can't wait to go sit with you guys in the booth soon and be talking some shop. So happy New Year to you guys. And just really looking forward to A1. I'll see you guys soon, huh?
Awesome.
Sounds
Thanks,
good, MC. As always, we appreciate each and every one of you viewers and listeners. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think, and we'll be back real soon.